operated on Thursday. Not expected to be able to play for the remainder of the season. On the other side of the field, Wilson threw a pass to Rockmore, chased him to the sideline, and falls heavily on his left shoulder. He, too, was operated on this week. Neither quarterback expected to be able to come back before the end of the season.
The Denver Broncos say there is bad news and good news. The bad news, they're down to 2 quarterbacks, and they're both rookies, but the good news is that one is John Elway, who says he's ready.
Well, and Elway did a good job coming in relief last week, but there's no question in the minds of the Denver coaching staff, Elway is going to be a great quarterback. It's just a matter of when. They'd like to see it start today. On the other side, they're getting a man in, a replacement who's been there many times before, Jim Plunkett. He knows what to do when he gets a shot in the game.
Denver's also concerned, Merlin, with the injuries to their running backs. They have a problem there.
Well, they certainly do. And the strength of these two teams is in their defenses, who will be trying to force mistakes today, trying to force interceptions and turnovers. Denver going to have trouble getting their offense on track. Only 2 healthy running backs, one of those with a dislocated thumb.
Well, it's perfect weather after 2 days of rain, and today's game is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By the Texas Instruments home computer, creating useful products and services for you. And by Honda, the world's largest manufacturer of motorcycles and ATC 3-wheelers. Follow the leader. He's on a Honda.
Don, I think we're going to see Dan Reeves with some smoke and mirrors today. With only 2 healthy running backs, we'll see a lot of 2 tight ends in a ball game with a single running back. Also, 4 wide receivers and a single running back.
Chris Barr is ready to kick it off for the Los Angeles Raiders. He was part of that great year in '80 when Barr came here as a cut by the Cincinnati Bengals, a free agent. Went to the Super Bowl with Jim Plunkett. Everybody had a comeback that year for the Raiders.
Well, that was the year that Plunkett came in with an injury, much like the injury that took the starter out this year.
Well, the interesting thing about him, Merle, as we look at Tom Flores, head coach of the Raiders, now in his 5th year, is the emotional maturity of Plunkett. He can handle the ups and downs of this game. He certainly demonstrated that. Here's the kick, carrying deep, and now the Denver Broncos bring it out across the 20 and out to the 30-yard line. Moving the ball out is Zach Thomas, a man who returned a punt 70 yards for a touchdown in the first meeting between the Broncos and the Raiders at Mile High. John Elway in at quarterback. They're calling this Elway's 2nd season. Number 7 from Stanford, the first player picked. You all know the history of this great prospect from nearby Granada Hills, California. Preston and Poole, the starting runners, they have problems in the backfield due to the Broncos with injuries. Watson comes out wide to the left, Upchurch to the right. The offensive line has tightened up after some rough going early in the season. Has given up a lot of sacks throughout the year, 42. First and 10. Winder in the game now, and he takes the first pitch and goes back for a yard loss as he tried to get to the line of scrimmage. Bob Nelson, an inside linebacker, fills. The front 3 for the Raiders, Long, Kinlaw, and Alzado. The defensive ends are outstanding. The linebackers experienced and quick, particularly on the right side. Hendricks playing his 208th game consecutively. He's not missed a game since he was in junior high school. Hayes, Watts, Davis, and McElroy, the defensive backs for Oakland, for the Los Angeles Raiders. That's $5 in the Teddy Nathanson pool. The Raiders probably play more man coverage, Merle, than any team in the league. Second down now and 11 for the Broncos. Nathan Poole tries to run, and he gets to the 30-yard line. The Teddy Nathanson pool, anybody who calls the Raiders Oakland has to throw in $5. It got up to some pretty big numbers last year.
Can't do it. It's hard. Even some of these players still refer to them that way. Little altercation going on between Lester Hayes and Rick Upchurch on that last play there. No love lost between these 2 teams. I don't think it's as bitter a rivalry as the rivalry that the Raiders have with San Diego. But these 2 teams play each other regularly, part of the same division, and they do not like each other very well.
No, they do not. The 47th meeting of these 2 teams dating all the way back to the American Football League in 1960. Raiders and the Broncos met earlier in the season at Mile High, and the Raiders were predominant that day, winning 22-7. Shortly thereafter, they had Steve DeBerg in the game as the starter. He ran off 4 straight victories. We have a problem with the stadium clock.
Should be 1340. 1340. 13:40, Carl.
Red Cashion talking about the fact that the clock is not working properly. They're going to wind it down to 13:40. They should be able to get into action out there. This Raider defense has played very well during the season, certainly ranked well overall in the NFL. But they had 2 seasons. They started out, they had 4 games where they averaged giving up only 9 points. In the last 6 games, they've averaged over 25 points.
Dan Reeves now sends in the play, and it's going to be shotgun passing formation, 3rd down and 9. Here's Elway, ready to gun it. He can go long, and he does. Man is wide open out there. And with the ball all the way down to the 30-yard line, looked like Upchurch, who got ahead and beat the defense and gets down to the 30-yard line. Ted Watts was covering, and he was badly beaten, so Elway's first throw is a big one, a 40-yard gain.
Upchurch having perhaps his best year ever, certainly his best as a wide receiver, has beaten Ted Watts, number 20. It's just a down and in. Upchurch using his speed, and let's go and watch Elway in this shotgun situation. Quick drop, good concentration downfield, and lofted a high and perfect pass. John Hadel, his quarterback coach, says, if I wanted to chisel a quarterback, create one from scratch, I'd create Elway.
Well, Hadel has now as his coach in the Broncos. Go to the run on 1st down and 10 from the 30-yard line of the Los Angeles Raiders. Reggie Kinlaw, the middle guard, makes the stop at about the 29-yard line. Elway, with that great motion, got some time from the shotgun, and Upchurch had Watts beaten hands down. That wasn't close.
No, not even close on that play, but you've got to be very careful when you point the finger at these defensive backs. Perhaps they had beaten the coverage in the middle on one of the safeties as well, but if that was a man-on-man coverage, there's no question that Watts was burned back.
Elway, who'd been on the bench during the weeks that diverted quarterback this team to 4 straight wins, very confident, particularly off his showing last week as he sends the run play up the middle. The penalty marker comes in from the linesman. And again, the Raiders shut down the Denver run with little or no gain.
It's about the 5th running play and virtually no gain at all for the run, and that is not good news. When you're playing a team that has a pressure philosophy defensively, you need to have all your options. And if the Broncos are unable to run the football today and have to depend entirely on the pass, they really are at a disadvantage.
Offsides, number 36 on the defense, still be 2nd down.
Defensive back Davis up that close. Mike Davis, what's he doing offside?
Well, they're looking for him. He likes to shoot. And Baltimore starting to get back in this game with the Steelers. Steelers had a big lead at Baltimore. It's now 17-13 in the 3rd quarter. 2nd down and 4 after the 5-yard assessment against the Raiders. No score in the 1st quarter. Elway takes a look, throws a fastball, and again he was looking at Upchurch coming in off the right flank this time. It's now going to be 3rd down and 4 from the 24-yard line of the Raiders. Upchurch, as you saw, going over 10,000 career yards. Very quick.
Trying to work on Lester Hayes here. Drive him off shortly and then cut inside. Bob Nelson, number 51, dropping from the inside. Upchurch had some room on that play. McElroy, the inside safety, coming out to give him a little kiss there after the ball went by.
So now, John Elway sets in a shotgun formation. Wide receivers, there are 2 deployed to either side. One man back in to block that is Poole. And he gets a pitch, and they're going to go for a 1st down and more. As the Broncos cross up the Raider defense, playing pass all the way, the blocking back gets the ball, and Nathan Poole's ahead for 11 yards and a 1st down.
Well, when I said smoke and mirrors, this is the kind of thing you have to anticipate. Little shovel pass. Now, it looks like it's going to be a drop right there. They let the defensive line in. Just flip it behind to Nathan Poole. And Poole does a good job of finding a little opening there, running for the 1st down. Still making all of their yardage on the passing game, not on the running game.
Nathan Poole spent some time in Canada, and now the pitch back goes to Winder. He cuts back upfield, and the Broncos get some good blocking from the right side. Lanier, the right tackle, Howard, the veteran right guard, Bill Bryant, always a good player at center for the Broncos, and the run is down close to the 10-yard line. A gain of about 5 on the play. It'll be 2nd actually and 6 where they spot the ball down.
Elway doing a good job so far of handling his share of the responsibilities on the field.
Here's an upset Merlin. New England beating Miami today. And a big help to the Raiders and the Broncos. The Cardinals upsetting the Seattle Seahawks.
The Seahawks pushing both of these teams.
Came in tied for 2nd with the Broncos. Both those clubs a game behind the Raiders at day's outset. Right now, the Broncos looking for a share of first place if they can beat the Raiders today. Elway sprinting out. He has some time. There's that quick arm and incomplete in the end zone. Mike Davis was covering on the play. One of a number of Colorado football players on the field today.
Sammy Winder down there working on Mike Davis in the corner. That's one of the things that Elway does extremely well. He has 4.7 speed and is not afraid to run with that football. And when you have a quarterback with mobility, he can get you a little bit of extra time. Looks like he wants to gun that ball a little too hard on that particular kind of play, though. Receiver coming back at it. Very hard to handle a fast pass in that situation.
No question, John Elway can throw fastballs. Now 3rd down and 6 from the 10. Watson goes in motion. Elway takes a look, stands in, lets her rip, and he has a man down to the 6-yard line. Gain of about 5. It'll be short of a first down, though. Short by a little over a yard. Matt Millen was covering Watson, who came in to take the pass.
Big Ted Hendricks, the Stork, number 83, coming from the left-hand side defensively. And there's no question that the quarterback was feeling that hot breath on his neck, had to get rid of that football. The receiver's got to know where that first down is, and on that particular play, he did not get close to it. Interesting choice here for Dan Reeves.
Well, I think he's made it, Merlin. He wants points. He's got Carlos out, the field goal kicker.
Well, he doesn't want to blow his first scoring opportunity.
Carlos has hit 11 of 15 field goals for the Broncos. The barefoot boy, good kicker. Can hit from a long way too. He lifts it up and through, and the Broncos beneficiaries primarily of that 40-yard strike from John Elway to Rich Upchurch that got him down close. Put the first points up on the field goal. It's 3-0 Denver.
Good back to receive the kickoff. Has an interesting ritual in the pregame warm-up as he's back catching kicks. He always drops one intentionally. Says he wants to get the fumble out of the way before the game starts. However, I'm not so sure he dropped that one intentionally.
That'd be nice if it worked, although Pruitt's very sure-handed. Zach Thomas had a problem with a fumble at Seattle. It was costly last week. Now Carlos kicks off with the Broncos in the lead 3-0. High spinner comes down to Greg Pruitt. The wedge forms. He's to the 20. Out to the 22, and in comes a marker. Invariably against the return team as Greg Pruitt takes it right up the middle. It's a holding call signaled against the Raiders. So they'll start for the first time here in the first quarter with poor field position as they'll be set back just outside their 10-yard line. Jim Plunkett at quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner many years ago from Stanford. He's now 35 years old. Another Heisman winner, Marcus Allen, in his backfield, along with the blocking back from Oklahoma, Kenny King. Speed on the flanks, and Malcolm Barnwell and Cliff Branch. Todd Christensen has caught a lot of balls this year, Merlin, 51. And the offensive line, broad-beamed as always in the Raiders system. They get big people. Offensive linemen don't draw many raves. Nobody cares to see them, but the quarterbacks can't live without them, and the Raiders have always had one of the best offensive lines. It is 3-0 Denver. First quarter on a clear, sunny day in Southern California. The Raiders on their home field with a 1st and 10. Plunkett goes to Marcus Allen, a cutback runner from Southern California who broke all records. Here is a Southern California Trojan in his collegiate days. The defensive front of Denver has Chavis, Carter, and Rulon Jones back in and playing well. The linebackers, very good, particularly the consensus All-Pro year after year, Randy Gradishar, 53. The defensive backs, a young player from Southern California, number 49, Dennis Smith, is playing some great football. That's Steve Foley, the free safety you're looking at, another good one. Former college quarterback at Tulane. 2nd down and 8 for the Raiders. Plunkett play faking, and the blitz comes from Jackson. A fumble in the end zone. It could be a Denver touchdown. It is. So the Broncos hit Bass and licked their sideline in jubilation. Barney Chavis came through after Jackson made the blitz, forced the fumble. And Chavis is on the ball. There's a player down. I don't know if he's fighting for the football or...
Marcus Allen is in there fighting for the ball. As Chavis said he had it, and he did. They went in on top of Plunkett, and Plunkett has trouble hanging on to that football. Does not have terribly big hands. And if you can hit him when he's not aware of you, he tends to let that ball go. Jackson gets there as Plunkett is just not even set up yet. Knocks the ball loose. Chavis right there to cover it in the end zone for the 7 points. You talk about a big break right there. 2 of those kinds of plays in the Seattle game, and that big loss by the Raiders, and Denver has come right back with it here.
Tom Jackson unopposed as he came on the blitz from the right side, and the fumble recovery by Chavis in the end zone. And now Carlos puts up the extra point, and all of a sudden the Denver Broncos open up this game with 8:26 to play in the first quarter. Denver has taken a 10-0 lead over the decidedly favored Los Angeles Raiders. We'll be back with the Broncos kickoff after this. Jackson just helped put points on the board for the Broncos with this big play on a blitz. Merlin
coming hard from the outside. Nobody attempts to block him even, and he just sweeps that ball right out of Plunkett's hands. Barney Chavis in to score, and that's the Raiders for a 5-game streak had 28 turnovers. They only had 1 last week. They'd like to eliminate them altogether.
They lead the league in fumbles. That was their 18th of the season. Now Pruitt returns the kickoff as he gets to the 15, is swept under by the wave of white on special teams for Denver. So the Broncos jubilant over their early game fortunes here. Early, Elway hit Upchurch with a 40-yard pass, and shortly thereafter Carlos kicked a field goal to make it 3-0. And now the blitz, the subsequent fumble, and the recovery by Chavis. Plunkett comes out finding himself and the Raiders down 10-0.
Well, we mentioned the strength of these 2 defenses being maintained in those defensive units. And of course, when you get up by 10 points that quickly, you can afford to become even more aggressive. And this Denver defense is highly aggressive anyway.
Very quick, and they've really shut down the scoring of the opposition. They're 3rd best in the NFL in keeping point totals of the opponent down. 1st and 10 Raiders with a run right to the middle and right to Marcus Allen, and quick linebackers you're referring to, Merlin, fill those gaps quickly, and there's a knockdown for a gain of only 2 yards.
Don Latimer picking that ball up. They would like to have had another one.
Final, the Packers upsetting the Vikings at Minneapolis 29-21. And Houston gets off the schneid and beats Detroit 27-17. And so after 10 weeks of losing this year, and how many last year, 5 or so, the Oilers are finally in the win column. Lost 17 in a row coming into today's game. Jim Plunkett with a 2nd down and 8. Kenny King gets the call, looks for room to go, has it for a moment, then gets to the 21 where again he's knocked down.
Oh, we got another battle going on. There it is right there.
You got people swinging in a couple of different
Marcus
spots.
Allen. That's Marcus Allen. I don't think I've seen him lose his cool like that in a ball game.
The guy who was squaring off with Steve Foley is an unlikely opponent.
Apparently, we're going to take a look down there after we get the call here from the official.
Number 32 of the offense. Unnecessary
It's always a push. They always offset.
Well, they do offset it. Jackson, number 57, you see here taking a shot to Marcus's head. Marcus retaliates as he comes back inside and throws Jackson off. Jackson, well, that's just a little mini battle going on there. They're not even worried about who's carrying the ball.
Yeah, this one is hot early, and it's going to heat up more as it's 3rd down and 5 now for the Raiders. Plunkett has some time, and he has a man, and a great reception by Marcus Allen for a 1st down at the 36-yard line of Los Angeles. 15 yards up into the air goes Marcus Allen and comes down with the ball. He's caught 42 balls this year.
Great receiver, no question about it. And on that particular play, I think realizing how foolish he looked on the last play, he comes up with a big play, takes some heat off. Plunkett doing a good job of finding an opening and a little bit of time in that pocket. That was the key to the play, along with the great catch by Marcus Allen.
Another aspect of Marcus Allen's play, Merlin, is the 3 completions in 5 attempts. He doesn't throw often, but 2 have been for touchdowns. Times they'll use it when they're behind. 1st and 10 Raiders. Plunkett wants some more, swings it out to Marcus Allen. So quick, loses the defender and gets ahead for a gain of about 9 yards on the play. A great move by Marcus Allen. Steve Foley finally got him out of bounds.
We talked about the injuries on the offense of the Denver Broncos. They also have a number of injured linebackers, and we're going to see a lot of 4-man line today, as we did on that play. Louis Wright just taking the bite there. What a great fake by Marcus. Put Louis on his backside. Jackson running him out of bounds. About 2 yards, a little less than 2 yards for the 1st down here, Don.
So the Raiders starting to move the ball now. 2nd and 2 coming up. Send 2 wide receivers out to the left, including the very elusive and quick Cliff Branch, who caught 2 touchdown passes in the first meeting at Denver. Plunkett's going long, and he's going to Cliff Branch, who loses the ball at the 36-yard line. Branch going deep, cuts back, but the ball was low. He couldn't hold it. Buffalo railing from a 14-0 deficit, defeats the New York Jets 24-17, so the Jets are gone if they weren't long ago, and Buffalo's very much in the running. San Diego, a surprise leader.
That is a surprise. Early in the ball game, San Diego bouncing back and jumping out ahead of Dallas. Well, Dallas always does that. Spots you about 10 or 15.
Right. And then hits the go button. The Denver Broncos now deploy their cornerbacks pretty well off the speed on the flanks for the Raiders. 3rd down and 2's coming up. Frank Hawkins in the backfield with Marcus Allen. Hawkins blocks. Plunkett gets time. Cliff Branch is open and loses the ball on a good defensive play by cornerback Mike Harden, number 31. So Coach Flores sees his team now come up empty on 3rd down, and the Raiders have to punt the ball.
The Denver defense in the earlier game in Denver did a good job of shutting down the Raiders on the running game, and they've done that so far here, forcing Plunkett to go to the air repeatedly. Makes the job easier because then they can concentrate on the pass, as Harden did on that play, shaking it loose from Cliff Branch. Good defensive play.
Ray Guy, who hits it a long way. You see his average, one of the best in the league again, ready to punt for the Raiders.
I wonder if he's ever kicked barefooted.
I don't think that he has. He probably could, though. Now the high punt, a very well done one. Going to angle out of bounds, and no, hits into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. Very nearly got it down inside, and so a 56-yard punt by Ray Guy carries into the end zone. A touchback, and the Broncos, a surprise 10-0 leader, have the ball when we come back. The Los Angeles Coliseum, Don Criqui with Merlin Olsen. A major upset in the Midwest today. The Seattle Seahawks were beaten by the St. Louis Cardinals, and so Seattle's record goes to 6-5. And the Raiders and the Broncos looking to see if it'll be a 2-way lead in the AFC West at day's end. It would be if Denver wins. Raiders can have a 2-game advantage over their closest competition with just 5 to play if they beat the Broncos. It's 10-0 though right now, Denver.
Don, one of the brightest stars on the field today, a young defensive end, Howie Long. And Howie, just one of those exciting players in a sense. He's able to do so many explosive things from that defensive end position. Able to, on that particular play, push his offensive tackle inside, shut off the play. And just very exciting to watch. We'll be looking at him later on today.
You don't hear a lot about him, but I think he's headed to the Pro Bowl. Broncos have not run well so far, but Elway's thrown well, and he does again. Now they rule he's out of bounds where he took the ball in. Upchurch had it, but he was out of bounds. Ted Watts covering.
You're exactly right. The Broncos have tried to carry the ball 5 times, managed only 8 yards, just over a yard to carry. And that's about the same kind of an average. In fact, I think the Raiders' average is even lower than that. Neither team able to move the ball on the ground, but both teams finding some open receivers, in particular the Broncos.
It was interesting to talk to the Broncos and just see their general attitude coming in, Merlin. It's a very confident team. Despite the injury to DeBerg, John Elway looked like he was coming out for a scrimmage. Very confident. He said he's ready, and he's indicated that so far by his play. Giving him the reception, so it's going to be 1st down and 10 from the 34-yard line. The pitch back goes. Running with the ball is Winder, not for very much as the Raiders continue to shut down the run. Ted Hendricks has been doing that for 14 years.
Now, we talked about exciting young players. There's about the most exciting pair of old legs on the field. Ted Hendricks, the stork. Watch him coming from the left-hand side of your screen. You can't see him yet, but here he comes right there. Shuts off Winder with a fine tackle. And I'll tell you the thing that's exciting and interesting. He's operating with torn stomach muscles and won't come off the field. That man's an amazing specimen.
He really is. As we mentioned, he's not missed a game because of an injury since he was in junior high school in Miami.
I told him his body goes directly to the Smithsonian after the season's over.
It's a big body, 6'7", 235 pounds.
Awesome.
Howie Long left early, but we'll see if he was drawn off.
Didn't look like either of the offensive linemen moved. I think Howie's just excited. He's walking the 5 back. He knows he made a mistake. He's pumped up. He's an interesting young man. Just watch him here. He's excited. He's expecting the pass, wanted to be hard on the inside. Looks like they had a blitz coming, or at least a line stunt. Howie got in there all by himself.
Encroachment, number 75 on the defense, still second down.
So the Broncos beneficiaries there. Instead of long yardage, they now have 2nd down and 4.
This is the kind of yardage they like to have, too. They got all the options now. They can run or pass.
Raiders with an early penalty problem, as you saw. 3 already for 20 yards. 10-0 Broncos. They try the run. Winder does his best, but there's not much there. He's short of a first down. It's going to bring up 3rd down and about 2 as Bob Nelson, the big inside linebacker from Nebraska, filled. The Steelers rallying now in the 4th quarter, and they lead the Baltimore Colts 24-13. Pittsburgh ready to extend its record to 9-2 with the win. Dan Reeves' team looking for a share of first place.
Reeves sends his short yardage unit onto the field. 3rd and 1. Send the big folks out. 2 tight ends, maybe even 3 in this situation. Although the Broncos have had trouble at that position too. They've gone through 7 tight ends during this season.
They haven't found a Riley Odoms in his prime yet. 3rd down and just over a yard. The pitch back to Winder, turns upfield, and he didn't get there, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, well, it all depends on where they mark it, and I believe they're going to mark it short. They tried to run in behind. They had the 3rd tight end stacked over there. Actually have Euchre, I think, playing at one of those tight end positions on that play. And Winder trying to make it from the right-hand side, but they're going to... Whoops, they got an injured player. I was going to say they were going to bring in the markers. They've asked the Denver...
Winder came in, as you mentioned, Merlin, with a thumb injury. Had a great game in the first meeting at Mile High against the Raiders. Ran for 119 yards.
And if that is indeed Winder on the ground, Dan Reeves' problems have just been complicated even further. That would mean he would be down to 1 healthy running back.
The Broncos have gotten very little production out of their number 1 from a year ago. It is Sammy Winder down. Gerald Wilhite has a continuing problem with a hamstring.
Wilhite came off a hamstring injury just a couple of weeks ago. They were excited to have him back in the lineup, and he went ahead and got into the ball game and pulled his other hamstring.
Yeah, hurt his good one.
And hurt his good one. And they're growing concern that he may not be able to provide the kind of punch they'd hoped he would provide.
Number 47, Gerald Wilhite. We'll be back to the Coliseum in Los Angeles after this.
Early in the game for Dan Reeves to be gambling, but here he is in his own territory, and he's elected to go for it on 4th down. Now, when all of your running backs are hurt, you may have to throw this ball. Let's see what he has in mind.
Egloff sets up as a wing to the right. 4th down and a yard. A little over a yard for the Broncos. Maybe they're looking to draw the Raiders offside.
They're not going to run the play. They were just hoping to get somebody offside. They'll take the 5-yard penalty here now and kick the ball. Yeah, a little bit of trickery. What they decided to do was put a couple of people in motion and see if they couldn't get the Raider defense to jump off sides. The Raiders were a little edgy. They would not take the bait. Now they'll send the punting team onto the field.
That, Merlin, would have been a critical shortcoming had they not made the first down and went for it at this stage.
It was a question in my mind why Reeves would want to do that. He's got a nice lead, doesn't want to make a dumb mistake here, but obviously trying to use more of the smoke and mirrors we talked about early.
Pruitt goes back. Luke Prestridge, another long ball hitter with that punt, ready to kick the ball for the Broncos.
He used to be the biggest punter in the league. 6'4", 230 pounds, but Reggie Roby is the monster is taken over now.
Prestridge is still big, though, about 220. He's averaging over 43 yards a punt. Pruitt standing back at the Raider 20, the 19. It's 10-0 Denver with 3:19 to play in the first quarter. 70 degrees, clear and sunny in Los Angeles. Prestridge hits a line drive. This will come back at the Broncos. Pruitt loses 1 man and another. Hits his own man, but he's still on his feet. To the 35, to the 40, and out to the 42-yard line. Pruitt wanted more, and he almost had a lot more. Ran into his own guy. 44-yard punt, but Greg Pruitt brought it back 24 yards.
Tony Caldwell, 57, is the linebacker coming down to block, and he runs flush on right there. Just a head-on collision. Pruitt lucky to keep his balance and find some room. That's a dangerous punt with no hang time. Pruitt doing a good job of getting it back up, getting good field position at the 42-yard line for his offensive unit. Plunkett trots them onto the field.
Pruitt saying, hit a guy in a white shirt.
He said, hey, I'm one of yours.
First and 10 Raiders. They trail in the first quarter 10-0. Malcolm Barnwell comes in motion. Plunkett, the pitch back. Running with the ball is Marcus Allen. And he's across midfield, and he's ahead for 13 yards and a first down. That great change of pace move that all the great ones have. A shift to speed, and Marcus Allen speeds ahead for a first down.
Marcus, a gifted back, has not had quite as good of numbers this year, but his role has changed somewhat in this offense. Has had to handle a lot of short yardage work. Well, this is long yardage work, doing what he does best, feeling the holes in that defense, and then accelerating and getting the extra yardage. That's a classic maneuver and fine play by Marcus Allen.
Now run it 3 times for 17 yards. 1st and 10, and Plunkett takes a look and swings it out. Pruitt has the ball. And he's ahead to the 39-yard line of the Denver Broncos. A gain on that play of 6 yards. So the Raiders come out and start to mix it up and get the ball down for their longest penetration of the game. Major upset at Foxborough and another at Shea Stadium in New York. And there's another at Minneapolis as the Packers beat the favorite Vikings. Kansas City beat Cincinnati. Bengals went into that game even though they were on the road with a losing record as the favorite. Chicago Bears haven't won many, but they did today, winning at Soldier Field against the Eagles. 2nd down and 4, Raiders. Kenny King has a problem. Foley comes up. Gradishar was the first through, then Foley came up and finished him off. So it's going to be 3rd down and 4. The scores coming in from the Midwest and the East. A very big one for the AFC West and these two teams. Seattle, an upset loser at St. Louis today. Cleveland beats Tampa Bay 20-0. And Houston with its first victory of the season after 17 consecutive losses dating back to last season. Pittsburgh still holding to the 11-point lead at Baltimore in the 4th quarter. San Diego continues to lead the favorite Cowboys at Jack Murphy Stadium down the coast in San Diego. 3rd down and 4, Raiders. They trail 10-0 first quarter. Good throw, and Branch eludes one man and gets ahead for a first down. Plunkett still has smoke on the ball, Merlin.
He still does, and still knows how to find those open receivers. They're really tickled to have Cliff Branch back. He wanted to play last week. They held him out of that ball game because they were afraid he might tear that hamstring again. You see him here. Look at the deceptiveness. He gets away from this first man, and then he's working on right here on number 45, Steve Wilson. Wilson trying to slip that ball out of his hands, but Branch did a great job of getting the pass and the extra yardage.
You don't want to get those Colorado Buffalo fans mad. Branch played not at Oklahoma, but for the Buffaloes in Colorado. Now his 9th year. Here's a pitch back and running with the ball. Running well is Marcus Allen. Starts to go east and west. Nothing there. It's going to be 2nd down and 10.
The mark of Joe Collier's defenses over the years, hustling and pursuit. There were about 8 of them out there, and they shut it off. Marcus looked back, wanted to reverse his field. Nothing doing. There was no place to go. Good play by the Denver defense.
Bronco linebacking core with Jim Ryan, Steve Busick, Randy Gradishar, and Tom Jackson. The biggest single play of this game was Tom Jackson's blitz earlier in the first quarter. He knocked the ball free from Jim Plunkett, knocked it into the end zone where Chavis recovered for a touchdown. And now as the first quarter ends, Jim Plunkett and the Raiders head to the other end of the field, trailing in the game 10-0. Broncos 10, Raiders nothing as we start the second quarter at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Don Criqui with Merlin Olsen. Raiders have the ball just inside the 30-yard line of Denver. It's 2nd down and about 9. Plunkett looking over the middle. They're doing a good job shutting off the tight end Christensen, but now Cliff Branch is starting to catch balls on shorter patterns. He's coming back.
Foley and Harden trying to get over to shut that down, but Branch looping up, finding the open ground, and you have to respect his speed. They'll play him deep here. He drives them off and then just hooks back inside. You notice how Plunkett does not throw the ball on the turn there, does not throw it on the break. He waits until the receiver comes out of that break, and that's one of the ways in which this Raider offense and the Raider passing game in particular differs from other passing games. A lot of passing quarterbacks like to throw on the break. The Raiders encourage their receivers to keep their heads down and drive out of that break, and they'll get the ball 2 or 3 steps later.
And they did right there. They have a first down, and here comes Marcus Allen cutting back, cutting in. Not done till he gets to about the 13-yard line. First down run, good for a gain of 4 or 5 yards. Barney Chavis, who scored the touchdown on the fumble recovery in the end zone, was on the tackle. You see the first quarter numbers. Broncos didn't run the ball well, but they did pass it well, particularly the 140-yarder from Elway to Upchurch that set up the subsequent field goal by Carlos, the first points of the game. It's now 10-0 Broncos.
At 18 yards is not impressive unless you remember that the first 4 times they carried the ball, they only got 4 yards. They are starting to run the ball more effectively.
Raiders with their deepest threat now inside the 15-yard line. Plunkett on 2nd and 6. And he throws
Rulon Jones. Number 75, Don Rulon Jones, coming in from his right defensive end position. And, of course, that's what the Denver Bronco defense wants to do to Plunkett. They want to harass him. They want to force him to throw the ball before he's ready to throw it. Coming from the right-hand side of your picture, number 75. Plunkett sees him. He knows he's there. He gets the ball off, but I believe that Rulon hit his arm, delivering that ball then, instead of toward the receiver, toward the turf.
The people watching in Utah remember Rulon Jones and a couple of good Olsen brothers from Utah State.
He went to a good school, didn't he?
And brother Phil in the booth also. He looks big enough to be a player with you, and a very good one. Merlin, Phil, and Rulon Jones all from Utah State as Plunkett throws and swings it out of the backfield on 3rd down and 6. Cliff Branch catches another one. He's short of the first down, but he's down to the 10-yard line. And the Raider field goal unit comes out. Chris Barr's the kicker.
Broncos talk about the best athlete on their team as being Dennis Smith, number 49, and you saw some of his speed as he stayed stride for stride with Branch on that particular play. That's the kind of play that Branch can kill you with, coming underneath, taking the ball, and using his speed to get the first down. No go there. Barr will try a 3-pointer.
Branch now at 3 receptions. The last sets up this field goal attempt from the 19-yard line. It'll be a 29-yard attempt. Barr hits it, going long, and he's right there. So the Raiders are on the board with 12:39 to play in the first half. Denver 10, the LA Raiders 3. The Raiders kick off when we come back to the Coliseum. In the history of the tournament players, there's never been a greater foursome than this. Nicholas, Watson, Palmer, and Player. And they're all coming up on NBC for a minimum of $10,000 a hole, a total purse of $360,000. The Skins game on Thanksgiving weekend from Scottsdale, Arizona, right here on NBC Sports. Now the Raiders are on the board on a 29-yard field goal by Chris Barr, who kicks it off and well. Drives the ball into the end zone. Coming out with it is Zach Thomas. He gets to the 19, and that's all as the Raiders special teams play well. Derek Jensen, the captain of the special teams, comes down and makes the stop.
Tremendous coverage. That was a good kick deep into the end zone by Barr. Barr has had a short slump middle of the season, and it seems to be out of it completely now, and that's very important. You want your kicker healthy of mind and body as you go into the last half of this season.
Chris Barr, very under control, a former Penn State soccer player. His father was the soccer coach there. Brother Matt kicks for the Cleveland Browns after kicking for the championship team for the Steelers. 1st and 10 for Elway and the Broncos from their 19. Elway on a sprint out, has to hurry it. What an arm. Downfield, it's a little short, though, as Elway kind of falling back, still gunned it on a line about 25 yards. Upchurch, the intended receiver.
Broncos going with 2 tight ends, a single back, and again forced to do that basically because of their injuries in that backfield. Elway just faking the run, and nobody really paid much attention. They did not expect to run, and because of that, no room on the pass. They came with good pressure. He had to throw the ball before he was ready to. That was a long comeback. Upchurch faking the deep pass, trying to break back to the ball, but Elway had to unload it before he was ready.
Tough down now for Elway and the Broncos. 2nd down and 10 from their 19. Raider defense digging in. They'll be coming. Elway ready to throw it. No, he's going to go to the run. Here comes Winder looking for room, and there's nothing there. He's shut down for a loss on the play and almost lost the ball. Bob Nelson, 51, with a big play for Los Angeles. The second quarter clock ticking down to 12:10.
Ron Egloff, number 85, who's been kind of pressed into full-time responsibility. Had been a backup tight end for a long while, coming in to put a little shot on McElroy there. Matt Millen, number 55, in the middle of your screen, one of those linemen who plays linebacker. A little more of the fisticuffs, the frustration, the love or lack of it between these two teams.
I think maybe the lack of it and the lack of yardage for Winder. Has run 7 times, has gained only 6 yards after that loss. 3rd and 15. Elway's got to let her go, and he does. Too much on it. Going to Upchurch, and John Elway's jumping up and down. Knew he had an open man farther downfield, but didn't get the ball to him. So the Raiders, trailing by 7 points, are going to get the ball now in relatively good field position as Pruitt drops back to take the punt.
On the last play, the Broncos had gone to 1 running back and 4 wide receivers. Problem was that Elway did not have enough time. Alzado bearing down from the right-hand side. Again, he had to throw the ball before he was ready to, and that's the kind of pressure that this Raider defense wants to put on Elway all day long.
Prestridge standing at his goal line, awaiting the snap from center. Wind is not a factor. It's absolutely perfect playing conditions after 2 days of heavy rain in Southern California. Prestridge hits a high knuckler, and fair catches signaled for and made by Pruitt at the 46-yard line of the Broncos. So the Raiders, down 10-0 early, have a chance to get right back and tie it up if they can succeed on this drive when we come back. Today, clear and sunny, 70 degrees and cloudless except for a few cumulus over the mountains after a heavy rainstorm yesterday. Right now, the Broncos on defense leading in the game 10-3. The Raiders looking to strike from the Denver side of the field. 1st and 10. Plunkett's looking long. He's got a problem, and down goes Plunkett at the 43-yard line.
The Raiders sacked many times during this season, but one of the reasons for that is that they want the deep shot. They'll go after you an average of about 8 times a ball game trying to get that ball deep, and they know that they're going to get sacked occasionally because of it. They know that the percentages are not that great because of it, but they'll take those deep shots, they'll turn them into touchdowns, and they really force you as a defense to play differently when you work against them.
That's long been a Raider axiom, to stretch the defense the length and width of the field. Spread it out. That time the pass rush spread out Plunkett for a loss of about 11 yards. Now he throws and has an open man, and Frank Hawkins, who gets back to lost yardage and some more. It'll be 3rd down and about 7.
And that's one of the things that those deep passes will do for you. When you stretch the defense deep, you make some room underneath, and you can get the ball to a Frank Hawkins who can then pick up some good yardage. Even though he does not get the 1st down, gets himself some good room here. Look how far the defensive backs are back. You can't even see a defensive back in that picture. They've gone deep with the receivers, respecting the deep passing game of the Los Angeles Raiders.
Frank Hawkins, or heralded now after his great performance in the upset of the Cowboys at Irving, Texas, when he rushed for over 120 yards against Dallas that night. The Raiders handing the Cowboys their only loss of the season. 3rd down and 7. Plunkett loses his footing and then gets some help going down. Number 77, Carl Mecklenburg, is through. They like him, and they like Rulon Jones, who was right there with him.
That's the 3rd sack of the day. We're at -27, and we talked about the rain earlier. They covered this field yesterday, but there was still some water on it. Plunkett just planted that back foot. The foot went out from underneath him. I think if that foot had not slipped, he would have managed to avoid that sack, managed to get the pass off.
Rulon Jones went out with an injury for 4 weeks. It really hurt a good Denver defense. Now that he's back, the defense has picked up considerably. 3rd in the league in average scoring against. Only 2 teams have permitted fewer points than the Broncos. Now Ray Guy hits a long spiral, really unloads. It's going to carry into the end zone, another 50-yard plus punt. And it comes out as a touchback to the 20.
Even though he kicked it 50 yards, he's got his head down. He would rather have put it out of bounds and gotten the extra yardage.
Back after this.
Todd Christensen, we haven't heard from him yet today. One of the reasons, they're jamming him on the line. Number 20, Louis Wright, doing a great job of keeping Christensen out of the pass pattern, destroying his timing. That's one of the reasons he's not been able to catch a pass.
And he's been averaging 5 catches a game, has Todd Christensen. Right behind Ozzie Newsome, the Cleveland tight end, in receptions in the conference. 51 coming in, but no less an expert than Louis Wright shutting him down today. Now Elway for Denver, 1st and 10. Gets it away, and Winder was looking at the ball, and Elway took a hard shot just as he released it.
Today's game is brought to you by Chevrolet, official U.S. cars and trucks of the 14th Olympic Winter Games. Chevrolet and you taking charge. By United Airlines, people who fly for a living fly United's friendly skies. And by RCA, the maker of innovative video products that will open your eyes.
John Elway a moment ago dropping the throw. He got it away just in time.
Oh, hello. The Raider defense wants to pressure him and remind him how close they are.
2nd and 10 for Elway, looking to throw on the run. He gets it away, and a man is out there, but the ball is wide as Watson was making a play on it.
Number 51, Bob Nelson, using his speed from the inside to pressure Elway. Again, we mentioned Elway's speed and running ability. On this particular play, has plenty of time, but his receivers could not get open. He merely fired that ball away and got rid of it. If you remember the shots we showed you in our opening, that's almost how Mark Wilson got hurt. Got on the sideline, lost his footing, trying to push somebody out, went to his shoulder and injured himself. They sure don't want to lose Elway here in this ball game. Two quarterbacks between them, I think, have about 6 months of professional experience. That's not starting experience.
The other quarterback, Merlin Gary Kubiak, has been on the clipboard all year. He hasn't taken a snap yet in the game. Elway looking to run, and the Raiders get him. So the Broncos will have to punt.
Greg Townsend, number 93, busting in from that left defensive end position. This young man is explosive, runs extremely well, really a powerful pass rusher. You'll see him coming in on this play on Elway. Elway sees he's going to have trouble, tries to get up the middle, but Townsend merely adjusts. That's Ken Lanier, number 76, trying to get over to block on him, unable to do so.
43rd sack of a Bronco quarterback. They lead the league in that negative statistic. Now Prestridge ready to hit the ball from inside his 5-yard line. And again, the Raiders will come out with good field position. Knuckleball hit downfield. Pruitt will run this back from the 50.
Clip.
Man. Yeah. Pruitt is a tough customer, though. He was rocket hit and then still spun away and got ahead. But there is the marker down. And a call is going to go against Los Angeles.
It looked like Bob Nelson, perhaps the man who was going to be charged with that. He's coming right down on top of Pruitt. You'll see that Pruitt has no chance here. I believe it is. Oh, no, it's 54. Darrell Byrd. I saw the 4 look like a 1. But Byrd, the man who was charged with that, he was trying to get off. But he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The officials will run it off against him.
Here's Red Cash.
Illegal use of the hands. Number 54 of the receivers doing the run back. It's first down at 10.
The Raiders quarterbacks had been sacked. We talk about sacks. There's the play right there. You see Byrd trying to get off of the man right there. Just couldn't get away from him.
Pruitt spins away for 7 yards, but it comes back, and the Raiders start out inside their 45-yard line. Back at the Los Angeles Coliseum, Don Criqui with Merlin Olsen. The Denver Broncos a surprise 10-3 leader. A beautiful day in Southern California, the kind, Merlin, might make you want to get back out there.
Well, I played a lot of games on the floor of this Coliseum. I don't think I ever played on a prettier day than today. And it is indeed the kind of day you want to tape up and go down. I don't know if I want to play, though. Just watch.
Well, you probably played more on this field than anybody ever, 15 years. Right now, the Broncos, leading by 7, go to the defense and stuff the run as the Raiders try to push it at the left side of the Denver defense on their 42-yard line.
I mentioned a few minutes ago, we were talking about sacks. The Raiders came into this ball game with 41 sacks. They've had 3 today. That gives them 44 sacks that they've given up on the year. They may be the new leaders in the NFL, although we'd have to keep track of all those who were close to that at the beginning of this day.
They were close. Pittsburgh was the leader, and right now we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. Second down and 9. Plunkett takes a deep look and drops it off. Knockdown made at about the 49-yard line as Gradishar came up on Marcus Allen. That'll bring up 3rd down for Plunkett in the Raider offense.
Plunkett now hitting on 7 for 10 of his passes so far in this ball game. A good high percentage, but he has been sacked, as we said, 3 times, which has caused some problems for this Raider offense.
3rd down coming up. Denver jumped off to a 10-0 lead on a field goal by Carlos and a sack and fumble into the end zone. It was recovered by Chavis for the Denver touchdown. Broncos hit on a Bauer field goal. Here's a throw to Christensen. This time the tight end is open. He has a big gain inside the 35-yard line, an 18-yard pickup, and the Raiders start to challenge.
52 passes on the year for Todd Christensen, and when a player has been that consistent, you're not going to take the football and the action away from him all day. Plunkett doing a good job of getting back and setting up, and that's just a quick flow pass across the middle. Christensen finding plenty of room and getting good yardage before they shut him down.
Raiders have a history of taking players that didn't do well with other teams. Christensen was a number 2 draft choice at Dallas, was waived, went to the Giants, was waived there. He's been outstanding. They took him from running back to tight end, and now Marcus Allen cuts back and gets inside the 25-yard line. Running hard, Marcus Allen, who set 9 NCAA records at Southern California on this field, runs it down to the 20 for a Raider first down.
The great running backs are a mixture of power, speed, acceleration. Allen showing you his power as he pulls out of an attempted arm tackle from number 57, Tom Jackson. You'll see it on the top of your screen here. Jackson getting good penetration, got a hold of him. Marcus just flips him off with that arm. Now watch the little moves, the little dip and go right there. It's Foley, number 43, who finally gets a hold of him, and several of the other Broncos who close it off, but not until he picked up a big first down.
First down it is for the Raiders at the Denver 20. Denver holding to a 10-3 lead, second quarter. Swing pass to Frank Hawkins. The Denver defense, schooled by Joe Collier, one of the best, quickly converges to the ball, a hallmark of Denver's defense. Gradishar says if you don't get in there fast, you're not going to make the tackle.
Well, this defense has played well all year, although they did lapse a little bit this last week against Seattle and did not play well against the Bears earlier in the season. But look at how many of the players are there. Randy Gradishar there first, number 53, as he is so often. Bingo. Well, how many? Count them. About a half a dozen of them right on this particular play. Jackson, one of the last to come up. But boy, there's a whole stack of them in there.
Marvin knocked somebody right off the screen coming up the block. It's now second down at 5. Pitch back, second back through, and the Raiders go to power football and advance the ball close to a first down.
Well, one of the things that the Broncos can't afford to let the Raiders do, and that's to run the ball effectively, because their passing game, if they can run the ball effectively, becomes that much more effective.
Another interesting aspect, Merlin, about the Raider organization, Al Davis has always been a proponent of drafting players from winning programs. He figures they bring an attitude in with them that really carries over to professional football.
I think that's true, but I think every scouting organization pays heed to that. I think perhaps he has, over the years, favored a few of the power schools, what we call power football schools, and it's paid dividends for it.
Two tight ends in. Don Hasselbeck, now a Raider, is one tight end. Todd Christensen's the other. 3rd and inches for Los Angeles. Hawkins, he's ahead for a first down and more. It'll be first and goal for the Raiders from the 7-yard line of Denver with 4:20 to play in the first half.
Now that's where that size advantage will begin to pay off for you. We mentioned injuries. They've had some injuries along that defensive wall for the Denver Broncos as well. And when you're outmanned and out physical sized as they are by at least 10, 12 pounds a man down that wall, you run into some real problems. Reeves contemplating what he's going to do next as he watches the Raiders get even closer to that end zone line.
Denver, over the years, has been a great team down close. They've given up a lot of yards, but they're awfully difficult to get it in. Another big Denver defensive play by Jackson, who made one that led to a touchdown earlier. Jackson shooting the gap, makes the knockdown on Marcus Allen behind the line of scrimmage. So it'll be second and goal from about the 10.
Jackson again with a big play, shooting in from the right side. Of course, the first big play of that kind we saw was the sack that allowed for the touchdown. He got in and shut it down deep, and you need a big play. And this Denver defense, they give up a lot of yardage. They give up a lot of first downs, but their philosophy is, we'll give that up, but we're not going to give up the points. Allen now 9 times rushing for 37 yards, but I think they're going to have to go to the air if they're going to get it in here.
Let's see, it's second down and goal from the 10-yard line. Raiders down by 7. Second quarter. Plunkett looks into the end zone, doesn't like to run, might have to, gets it away. His receiver fell down.
Dokie Williams, number 85, a young man from UCLA who's been very, very effective for these Raiders in the past few weeks, slipped down on that's a wet part of this field. That's where they rolled the tarps off, and it's extremely slick down there. But as you said, Plunkett does not like to run. He did, however, come back from that sit on the bench, apparently more fit physically. Moved around extremely well last week and has moved well in this game today. He said it's in part because he wasn't beat up. You take a real pounding when you're getting hammered on all the time out there.
Well, he spent some hospital time, Jim Plunkett, with about 7 or 8 operations.
You see the kind of dominance that the Raiders have had on those third down situations, doing a good job of sustaining their drives on the day.
3rd and goal, Los Angeles from the 10. Plunkett gets some time. It's going to lose it now. He gets it away and gets it incomplete at the 3-yard line.
Fumble. They're calling it a fumble. No.
Now they overrule.
One of the officials on the ball had not made any marking and had not called it incomplete. He believed it was a fumble. The 2 other officials there, both of them calling it an incomplete pass, and the ball will be a 4th down, 50 or 10-yard line, and we'll see Chris Barr again.
So the Denver Bronco does indeed stop a touchdown threat of the Raiders, and now Chris Barr back on the field, and there's the incomplete pass.
Had that been a fumble, it was recovered by the Raiders in the end zone and would indeed have been a touchdown.
That's interesting. But an overruling made, and it was an incomplete pass, and now field goal attempt from 28 yards out. His first was 29. This is like, oh, no. Hits the upright. Been worked all week long and try to do that in practice. No good. So the Raiders with a deep drive. They were inside with 1st and goal from the 7. They come away with no points.
The Broncos talk about this man as being the best athlete on the field defensively, and we'll show you why they have so much respect for him. Right in the middle of your screen, number 49, going up to try and get a piece. Look how high he is in the air. Did not touch that football, however. The ball hooked off to the side by Barr, who's kicking out of the hold of David Humm, quarterback they just brought in to replace the injured quarterback Mark Wilson. But that's an exciting play by that young man.
He's a great jumper too, Merlin. As a high school high jumper, he was a 7-foot high jumper, was also a 3-time letterman on the Southern California track team. Glenn Berman and the crew standing by in New York to update the 11th Sunday of play of the 83 season. Right now we have 2:43 to play before the half. Winder tries to go but doesn't get far, as the Raiders have been stuffing the Denver run all day long. Winder ran well against Los Angeles in the first meeting, gaining 119 yards.
Of course, that's a costly play when you drive the ball as effectively as the Raiders were able to drive it. But when you get down and you compress that field, you get down inside of that 20-yard line, inside the 10-yard line, there's so much less field to defend. A lot of teams using the zones down there extremely effectively.
And we'll be back with 2:28 to play. Coliseum in Los Angeles. The LA Raiders trailing Denver 10-3. Denver has the ball, 2nd down and 9 coming up. Broncos jumped off with 10-0 first quarter lead. Elway stands in, throws hard. Defense is right there, and the call is clean. Mike Davis making the move, and the hit just as the ball came in on Nathan Poole.
Don, you mentioned the ineffective running game of the Broncos so far. Sammy Winder has run the ball 8 times, and just managed to get 8 yards. Allen, on the other hand, Marcus Allen running for the Raiders, has run 9 times for 37 yards. So a big difference there. Looking at the scoreboard, the 10-3 should be 3-3 without that big turnover and a touchdown by the defense. But of course, as a defensive player, the defenses control the game, and they're doing it here today.
Well, they really have. The defenses have controlled this game, and the year that Denver went to the Super Bowl, they did it with defense. Now Elway stands in, throws a fastball, too much on it.
And he shakes his head. I think he knows that he put too much zip on that one. I'm not so sure that Upchurch would have had the first down, even had he been able to catch that football. But when you have that much power, and that, well, I'm sure, even though John Elway showed us a cool exterior today, he's got a lot of emotion pumping out there. This young man had to be totally frustrated by the bad start he got on the season. And Dan Reeves has been quick to admit, I gave him too much to do. I pushed him too hard. It's certainly a much better situation that he comes back to now.
Big surprise down the coast, Merlin, with the Chargers leading the Cowboys 14-0 in the first half.
Let's see, carrying one in there.
They get 14-0. Here's a punt now by Prestridge of the Broncos. Again, Pruitt goes back. Tough field this time, but he catches it over the shoulder Broncos are there. He loses some and is knocked down to the 40-yard line. 44-yard punt and a 4-yard return with 2:13 to play. Back on John Elway. There's no downside on the guy, really. He's got the great attitude, as does a man who preceded him at Stanford, Jim Plunkett. Elway really has a terrific ability to handle the fame and celebrity that's come with his being the #1 choice and the $5 million man.
He certainly does. And I would hope that he would react as well to adversity as Plunkett has. No question. He's had some of the same knocks put on him. That they were not as good as they were reported to be, and certainly didn't deserve the kind of honors and the kind of publicity. Well, Plunkett has proved that it's not true in his case. And I think before he's through, John Elway will do the same.
Right now, Plunkett on 1st and 10, dips it off, and Marcus Allen has the ball, has some open field. He's ahead for a gain of 13 yards across midfield. The Raiders have a first down as the 2-minute warning is given.
The mark of experience. Plunkett under pressure knows that he's got to flip that football out of there. Just a little short pass, hangs it up. Big play for a first down.
So the Raiders will have 2 minutes to work when we come back. The preceding announcement was furnished as a public service by Steve Watson in the National Football League. Haven't seen him catch any today, Merlin.
No, he hasn't. He's got a problem with his hand, a dislocated finger. You saw it on the left hand there. That and the fact that the Raiders have paid a great deal of attention to him defensively.
Got that dislocated finger on an Elway pass in practice. Here's a long ball into the end zone. It's a long out, though. And you really saw some speed on display there. Two of the great ones, Branch on the fly pattern, and Louis Wright. None better, right with him, stride for stride.
And if you have questions about the strength of Jim Plunkett's arm, that ball was in the air 60 yards and thrown very accurately over that distance. The defenders right there at the last. Receiver stretching for it, but unable to get there. That's good defense by the two backs who were on top of him there. But what a powerful shot from Plunkett. Still able to throw that football.
He hasn't lost arm strength. And the amazing Mr. Wright. Right with Branch. So now it's 2nd down and 10. Raiders trail 10-3. Here's a strike to the tight end Todd Christensen, who was shut down through the first quarter and a half, but has started to come on now. Jackson knocks him down. Raiders get it inside the 40-yard line of Denver with 1:43 to play.
Again, an example of the Raider philosophy. Show the defense you're not afraid to go after them deep. Make them respect your long ball, and then come back and hurt them underneath. That pass puts them close to the first down. They're going to have to go for it on a 3rd and about 2 yards to go, a little less than 2.
Dan Reeves, one of the youngest coaches in the National Football League, talked about his system, the Dallas system, being kind of complicated for a rookie quarterback to grasp. And maybe he did, as you pointed out, Merlin, give John Elway too much to work with early. Elway told us before the game he really had tunnel vision. He couldn't even get a playoff. It's all changed now. He's a very confident man, and his quarterback very well today. Next Sunday, join host Len Berman as NFL 83 starts today with feature reports and a preview of the day's games. Then it's an NFL doubleheader beginning at 12:30 Eastern Time. The LA Raiders go to Buffalo. The Bills move to a first-place tie in the AFC East today, upsetting the Jets. Other games include Baltimore at Miami, Cleveland at New England, San Diego at St. Louis, Houston at Cincinnati. And the second half of the doubleheader features an interconference game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, or Seattle at Denver. Check your local listings for the game and the times in your area. 3rd down and a little over a yard for the Raiders with 1:43 to play in the first half. Over the top for the first down, Marcus Allen. An excellent athlete, was drafted as a defensive back, really, out of high school in San Diego. He was also a high school quarterback.
Certainly a good athlete, and right here shows you the kind of jumping ability he has. Way over the top. They're going quickly on the field with no huddle.
I'd say he was recruited by USC, not drafted. Here's Marcus Allen with the ball again. Loses it, and that's a free ball, and the Broncos have it.
Now they're calling it down. Official right on the spot says he's on the ground. They came right back without a huddle, realizing the clock is ticking down now. Minute 5, minute 4, and they're back again with no huddle.
Plunkett swings it out.
Oh, look out.
Hawkins has the ball, and he's knocked down at the 30 with 52 seconds to play.
Louis Wright coming right up to say hello. I asked Louis, I said, Louis, these wide receivers getting any faster? He said, well, he said, used to only be one or two of them that I'd have to really worry about running with. He said, now I got one every week. I don't know, maybe Louis is losing a little bit of that edge, but he's certainly not lost any of his awareness, nor has he lost his excitement about the game. A great defensive back for many, many years comes up and puts a clinching tackle on Hawkins, number 27. That's the kind of play that's earned him so many postseason honors and trips to the Pro Bowl.
He really has been a great player for 9 years now. They talk about a few fiery players igniting a whole defense, and Wright's one of them. Big plays for years and years for the Broncos. Reeves is hot. He maybe should be. Thought he had a fumble there. His team did.
Official right on the ball, and the ruling is if the ball bounces loose as a result of contact with the ground, it's not a fumble. The ball must be broken loose before that ball carrier hits the ground. Of course, the official was there to make that call. Plunkett doing a good job. 117 yards, 12 for 20.
He's not been intercepted, but he did give up a fumble, and he was sacked from the blind side, and that fumble led to the game's only touchdown. It's 10-3 right now, Denver. Time running out in the first half. Here's a throw, and the ball is caught by Christensen. He's down to the 13-yard line. Great throw by Plunkett, good for a 17-yard gain. A crossing pattern, and he hit the open man.
Plunkett signaling that they're going to come right back now and go for without a huddle again. Clock ticking down, 31 seconds, 30.
Goes to the end zone. There's a man there, and is fouled and lost. Very nearly a Malcolm Barnwell reception for a touchdown. A sprinter from Virginia Union.
That's the kind of speed that allows you to get deep. Barnwell, a sprinter, working one-on-one on Louis Wright. Wright staying step for step with him, but there was a chance to catch that ball. It was perfectly thrown, and you're going to get a percentage of those, but that's a tough play when you come right back without a huddle and hit him deep down that sideline.
Incomplete pass, stopping the clock with 24 seconds to play in the first half. Chris Barr is 1 for 2. His last was no good. It's a 10-3 game. The Raiders trailing.
The Raiders want 7 here. They would much rather have a touchdown. They'd like to go in with a tie at halftime.
Plunkett. Here's a blitz. Plunkett has a problem, and Mecklenburg, the rookie, comes up and gets him. The 4th sack of Jim Plunkett in the first half. A rookie from Minnesota drafted in the 12th round. Carl Mecklenburg made the stop behind the line of scrimmage. Another big defensive play.
Broncos said today they had to put that kind of pressure on Plunkett and to force him to make the bad plays. They certainly have done it here in the first half.
Now a 42-yard field goal. That'll be the final play of the first half. Barr hits it. It's plenty long, and it's through. So the Raiders get points, but they don't get that tying touchdown, and they'll go to the locker. Well, there's 2 seconds left in the second quarter. The Los Angeles Raiders now trailing Denver 10-6 after another Chris Barr field goal. We'll have time for the Raiders to kick off to Denver. Raiders have been down close a number of times, Merlin, but still have not put up that 6 number.
No, they haven't. And we talked earlier about the Denver defensive philosophy. They'll give you some yardage, but they really do come up with the big plays. And that sack by Mecklenburg, another example. They're really high on that young man. Number 77, you'll see him coming from the outside here. It's a stunt with Rulon Jones. Jones holding 2 of the offensive linemen, and Mecklenburg speedy to the inside, whipping Plunkett to the ground.
They project Mecklenburg, Merlin, as being an A.J. Dewey type. He only weighs about 235 and has had trouble gaining weight, but he's so fast that they're going to put him as a down lineman and maybe as a roving linebacker.
Well, certainly with the new rules in the game, the advantage goes to the speedy defensive lineman. He certainly has that.
Ground ball hit downfield, and the Broncos fall on it, and that will do it. Len Berman and the NFL 83 crew is standing by in New York as here at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. That's the end of the first half with a score. The Broncos 10, the Raiders 6. NFL 83 coming up after these messages.
Damage for them.
Harless hits the ball and hits it well. Back into the end zone goes Pruitt. He'll bring it out. 15 and the 20, and a penalty marker goes down again, which has been a continuing problem for the Raiders today. Penalty markers have been thrown in predominantly against the Los Angeles team. As the Raiders go on offense trailing 10-6. They were down 10-0 in the first quarter of this game.
was Rick Dennison, the linebacker, 55, who was applauding down there. I think perhaps he was the man that was blocked illegally, and they're going to mark it way back inside the 10-yard line.
Illegal use of the hands. Number 56 of the receivers during a run back. It's first down at 10.
Linebacker Jeff Barnes, blocking on the kick return team for the Raiders, called for illegal use of hands. And so the ball is set back inside the 10-yard line of the Raiders. There they'll go on offense from their 8, first and 10. Raiders annually, Merlin, the most penalized team or close to it in the NFL because they're a very aggressive team.
They certainly are that.
Also, it's a matter of record, winning team. Always. Now the run by Kenny King, and there's not much there as the Denver Broncos pursue laterally. Steve Foley's having a good game for the Denver Broncos from free safety, coming up to play the run well also.
His 8th tackle of the day. Foley, one of those quiet assassins. He's such a gentle looking guy, quiet family man. I came from a large family, one of 9, and you mentioned Phil's here today. He's one of 11 children. Now that's a real family.
That's a full family, and Steve Foley has been a full player for the Denver Broncos now for 7 seasons. Coming out of Tulane, as you mentioned, Merlin, is a quarterback, moving into one of the better free safeties in the analysis every year in the NFL. Here's a home run ball as Plunkett goes long, and a man is there, but it's off his fingertips. Cliff Branch running his 3rd full fly of the game. This time they tried Mike Hardner, the other cornerback.
A lot of offensive coordinators have looked at this secondary for the Broncos and figured they would go after Mike Harden, number 31. Harden does a good job of covering. Now he's covering one of the most dangerous receivers in all of football, Cliff Branch. And Branch not able to get any yardage on him. A well-thrown ball by Plunkett. Again, a chance for a completion there.
Inches away, a long ball. Plunkett coming off of the inactivity of sitting on the bench while Mark Wilson was in. His arm's strong, and physically he's as sound as he can be now in his 13th season. See the 3rd down conversion ratio. It's 3rd and 9 coming up for the Raiders. Plunkett gets time, swings it out to Frank Hawkins. Good play by the Denver defense. Jackson, who's been making them all afternoon, Tom Jackson comes up and stops it. And the Raiders will have to punt, and the Broncos will open with their first possession of the second half with good field position.
You get a feeling why Tom Jackson has been voted Denver's most inspirational player in the last 2 seasons. He'll inspire you with plays like that. You saw him sack the quarterback earlier, force the touchdown. He's been out there making the big plays all day.
Denver defense has given up some yardage, but they've mounted the challenge and answered it when the Raiders have been down close, allowing Los Angeles only 2 first-half field goals. 10-6 Denver.
Not a good punt.
No, not from Ray Guy. It hits at the midfield line, goes right up in the air. Now takes a Raider roll inside the 40-yard line of the Broncos. Denver starts out with its first possession of the 3rd quarter, 1st and 10 from the Denver 38-yard line. The count holds 10-6. Broncos in the lead. We'll be back right after this. John Elway and the Bronco offense comes out. Merlin, John's about due for a completion.
Well, it's a sputtering offense right now. I'm sure Reeves wants Elway to get it on track. He's got to have some help to do it. Oh, no.
At a different snap count, his center, Bill Bryan, was waiting for
I think that's Elway. I think that's Elway. When you don't see any of the other offensive people move, you know that the quarterback, and I'm sure what's happened here, he's got a lot of things on his mind. He's trying to do everything down there right now, maybe trying to do too much. I think that's one of the problems he had earlier in the year. Well,
going out without the ball, number 7 of the offense. It's still first down.
That's an embarrassing moment for a quarterback. He said, hey, guys, I'll tell you one thing. No matter what kind of season he's had, this young man's going to be a great quarterback. And it's just a matter of letting him fight through all these problems to get there.
You can still get just about a full team if they wanted to put him up for trade. Elway gets time. There's the long ball. Going for it is Upchurch, but it's going to be intercepted at the 20-yard line by Van McElroy, the free safety.
That's McElroy's 5th interception on the season, and that was kind of a gimme. The ball underthrown. Elway trying to get the ball deep. Had the receiver down there, although he was well covered. Forced the pass. And, of course, the reception is by one of the men in black. McElroy, who had to wait a long time for that pass to come in. Almost had to fair catch that one.
Alert play by Lester Hayes, was ready to tip it away, then saw McElroy ready in position to intercept and let it go. So the Raiders get it back for their second possession of the third quarter with 13:01 to play in the third period. The Raiders with the ball at their 20-yard line. Cliff Branch comes out wide to the left. Malcolm Barnwell's on the right flank. Kenny King and Marcus Allen, the setbacks behind Jim Plunkett. This is Marcus Allen running. And Allen, with good moves, weaves his way ahead for a gain of 8 yards to the 28-yard line.
What could have been and probably would have been with a lesser back, a 3-yard loss, turns into a big gain. Number 50, Jim Ryan, had shot into the backfield, had Allen dead to rights. Allen just scooted inside and got upfield for a nice gain. 11 times he's run the ball now, 48 yards. He's close to a 100-yard clip for the day. As I said, I'm beginning to feel the dominance of that big Raider offensive line.
In the second quarter, it was evident, and is again now, as the Raiders run again, and they go ahead for a first down. Kenny King carries this time. Marcus Allen with 11 carries today. He's averaging about 16 carries a game. Randy Gradishar probably playing for the last time in the Los Angeles Coliseum for 10 years. One of the very best in pro football.
I don't think any linebacker that I've ever seen play the game has a better nose for the football than Randy Gradishar. Came into this game with 136 tackles on the season, and over the last 10 years of his career, and that's an impressive period of time. No one has made more tackles in football than Randy Gradishar.
Most in the NFL over the last decade, closing in on 2,000 tackles is Gradishar. Plunkett looks to throw and does, and completes the ball to the 35-yard line. Marcus Allen, and Gradishar is quickly on him.
Look who's there. And Gradishar, who's announced his retirement at the end of this season, will be going out while he's still very physical and very healthy. At the same time, he said, look, I've got a lot of things I want to do with my life, and if I'm not healthy, I won't be able to do them. And on top of that, one thing that he's very proud of is the quality and the character of his play. The fact that he has had such high standards as an athlete. He said, I don't want to play in a couple of years where I would be embarrassed about what I'm doing on the field.
He might hang around till he's 40 and not be embarrassed. He's still as good as there is. But as you mentioned, this will be his last season. Gradishar in his 10th year. Now Plunkett on 2nd and 6. The rush is on. He gets it away, and good coverage by Louis Wright on the tight end Christensen. Incomplete pass.
The Denver defense taking additional pressure because of the sputtering offense, and that's something that they have been responding to all this season. But certainly at this moment, putting a lot of pressure on Plunkett and doing a good job. And look at that score, 17-6, as San Diego continues to lead Dallas into the third quarter. What a good job that San Diego offense is doing.
Really
defense.
Yeah, holding the winning Cowboys, a 9-1 team, and now we see the San Francisco 49ers doing well. So are the Washington Redskins looking for their 9th win of the season against a team that's all but run up the white flag, the New York Giants. 3rd down and 5. Plunkett with a problem, gets it away, and almost a completion.
Wow.
Dennis Smith, the old teammate of Marcus Allen, they exchange shoves and then help each other up.
Marcus angry again on that play. Has lost his cool a couple of times today. Plunkett getting tremendous heat as the blitz was all over him on that play. Still able to deliver the ball. Randy Gradishar, was shown him earlier. You see the intensity of the man. He's right there trying to get in there and jump the count. Missed it on that particular play. Still fighting to the inside. That's Mickey Marvin, 65. Now that's the kind of play that is spectacular. Going from one piece of action to another, finding that football.
Here's the punt again by Ray Guy. Hits it well and very high. Zach Thomas takes it and takes 3 consecutive hits in the Raiders, but holds on to the ball. Denver gets it back at the 24-yard line. A 41-yard punt by Ray Guy, but it was very high, and it was not returned for any yardage. So Elway and the Bronco offense still leading 10-6. We'll try again when we come back. One of the most famous stadiums in America, and of course will be the site of the opening ceremonies next July when the '84 Summer Olympic Games begin in Los Angeles. Right now, the home field and the Raiders are down to the Denver Broncos 10-6, third quarter. Elway pitched back. Nathan Poole runs and gets some yards. The Broncos have gotten very few running the ball today.
Well, they've also had very few first downs. In fact, they've only managed 3 first downs on the day. You just can't control a football game when you can't control the football. So far today, the Broncos have been operating, of course, as we said, with some real disadvantages, mainly in the injuries to their running backs. They've had to change their strategy and go with 2 tight ends, 4 wide receivers, 1 running back, and they have just not been able to be effective against one of the strongest defenses in the NFL.
John Elway, you see his numbers, 4 for 13, leading 413 for the 64 first half yards. Standing in, taking a look. Boy, he's got the gun, lets her go, and Upchurch is out there, but again, this time lost. Otis McKinney had the ball and lost it. Elway's arm is so strong, he threw that almost falling back.
One of the ways to tell about a quarterback's relaxation and how comfortable he is to watch his feet. Let's watch Elway. Look how fast he is to set up. But I'll tell you, they're back on him already. Look at those nervous feet. He could feel the pressure, and now you see those feet come right off the ground as he is just knocked on his backside. That ball, luckily, was knocked away by Upchurch, who's playing defensive back on Otis McKinney and stripping the ball away from him.
Elway, as you know, Merlin, knows this field well. Played in the City High School Championship game in Los Angeles. Came here regularly with Stanford to play against Southern California and UCLA. 3rd down and 8 for Elway. Stands in, he throws, and it's caught. What a catch at the 41-yard line. It's good. They're ruling it a good reception. Upchurch going to the moon to come down with the ball.
Some kind of a mistake on that play, too. You don't want 2 of your receivers right on top of each other. And 2 of the Denver receivers were right in the same area. A collection of defensive backs. Upchurch still comes up with the football out of the shotgun. Elway doing a good job of getting back and gets this pass on target. This is not an easy target. But one of the knocks on Elway early was that he locked on a single receiver. You saw him there. Eyes only on 1 receiver. Again, you see 2 Denver receivers right on top of each other. They're lucky to come down with that ball.
Great second look. Our producer, Kenneth Edmondson, and our director, John Gonzalez, said the Raiders stuffed the run. Ted Hendricks was the first man through to get Nathan Poole on a 1st and 10 play.
Ted, they took him in at halftime, had a bruised thigh, looked him over, but he's so tough. I think his pain threshold, you probably hit him on the head with a hammer, he'd still come back in there and play.
They got him. They got the cornerstone of a defensive franchise.
Ian Millen, of course, coming out on a long yardage situation, passing situation. They'll put extra defensive backs, a little more speed in the ball game. Only 3 defensive linemen. Let's see if they get a blitz on it.
2nd and 10. Here comes the blitz. They go to the run. Free ball, and the Raiders are going to get it. And McElroy, the free safety, got the free ball, and now the Raiders have it inside the 40-yard line of Denver.
Number 36, Mike Davis, is still on the ground out there. He was the man that blitzed. He dove right at the last minute at the ball carrier. Looked like he may have hit on the heels of the ball carrier. He's still on the ground, and that would be a costly loss to these Raiders. You see the play after, as it develops, ball knocks away right there. 51, Bob Nelson, the man who knocked it away. Raiders able to get their hands on it. Let's see Davis coming from the backside. You see him right there diving. Maybe a heel to the face, perhaps. Hard to tell.
The Raiders force a big one. Sammy Winder having a problem holding onto the ball. In fairness to Sammy, you see that right hand heavily taped. He's got a bad thumb, and he couldn't hold it. He was holding with the right hand when it was knocked away.
Looks like they're looking at the leg of Mike Davis there. You see him diving right at the back there, and then you see the ball knocked away. Nelson reached in from behind, swatted that ball away. McElroy, the man who got over and got on top of it, he's finally knocked down before he can get too far. But the Raiders have the football. That's the 2nd turnover of the 2nd half, and they have excellent field position.
No turnovers for the Broncos in the first half. The Raiders had one that led directly to a touchdown. Here's a throw downfield. Kenny King caught the ball out of bounds. Good looking play, but he was 2 feet the wrong way.
I think he was more than 2 feet out of bounds. Maybe he was looking at that white line on the outside of the first white line, but he was way out of bounds for that one. And of course, that's a quarterback's responsibility too. Look how far he is out. I don't even think he would have been in bounds on the second white line. Plunkett right now 16 for 27 on the day, 138 yards, but still will go deep. And again, the reason for that, he wants to stretch this defense. The Broncos, again, willing to give a few yards, but they've been toughest when they've had their back against the wall.
They've demonstrated that all game long. The Raiders have challenged continually, but have only come away with 2 field goals so far. Denver still leads 10-6. Now the Raiders go to the run, and Frank Hawkins, a hard running back from Nevada at Reno. And although you didn't hear much about him coming out of college, he was 3rd all-time in NCAA rushing, over 5,000 yards. Frank Hawkins, who rushed for 122 against the Cowboys in the upset win.
Well, before this game started, Dan Reeves said that he felt this game would be a game that was lost and not won, and his reasoning was that someone was going to make costly turnovers. Well, you saw the first turnover and the result in 7 points by the Raiders, and now here in the early going of the second half, 2 very costly turnovers by the Broncos.
8.5 to go in the 3rd quarter. We haven't seen the last of the turnovers in all probability. Here's a throw to an open man. Cliff Branch took the corner deep, Harden, and then turned out on him. And the Raiders have a first down inside the Denver 15-yard line. Staying away from Mr. Wright and going at Harden.
And this is the area of the field that the Bronco defense has been toughest today. Plunkett getting a good shot here. Good play. You see him looking right, setting the play up. And again, they respect this man so much, Cliff Branch, that they just have to give him room. The end result, he takes advantage of it. And a nice completion for a first down. Let's see if they can get inside and get tight.
Cliff Branch, 12th year in the league, hasn't lost a step. Marcus Allen rockets up free football. And the Broncos think they have it, and the official's going to signal the same. First official stepped in and waved that way, and now they make it official. And so the turnovers start to pile up. A second for the Raiders stops another Los Angeles drive.
With most teams going to zone defenses down inside the 20-yard line, teams have gone more and more to running plays. But you've got to hang on to the pumpkin. Marcus Allen inside, and the ball stripped away. The man who comes up with it, number 53, Randy Gradishar.
Station identification. This is the NBC television network.
This is KSEE TV 24 Fresno.
Gradishar and the Denver defense just came up with another big play, stopping the Raider drive. Merlin, maybe he'll think about not retiring.
He may indeed. I know that Dan Reeves will be talking to him about that.
The handoff on the run goes up the middle. There's some pushing and shoving and a penalty marker in addition. And Denver Bronco is down. Jack Egloff shaken up.
Ron Egloff.
Ron Egloff.
Yeah, no question that they don't want him on the ground. We mentioned earlier that they've gone through 7 tight ends during this season, and that's one of the few that stayed healthy. He was knocking on wood in the dressing room earlier. I said, how have you been so lucky? He said, I don't know. So I just dodged the bullets, I guess. But I talked to some of the coaches and players for the Broncos. They don't want to see Randy Gradishar go. It's his decision. And Reeves, I think, will do everything he can to try and talk Randy into coming back for another year. But he does have a lot of options. He knows that he has other things he'd like to do with his life. And, well, there are the yardage on the day, and you understand how important this Bronco defense is when you look at what the Raiders have been able to do and then look at the scoreboard and realize that they're still behind on the scoreboard.
Offensive numbers certainly don't reflect the scoreboard. Denver continues to lead 10-6. They scored their points early in the game. They led 10-0 in the first quarter.
Rolling down the run, number 64 of the offense, half the distance to the goal, still first down.
That's Billy Bryant, the center, most dependable of those Bronco offensive linemen, and he's the glue that holds that offense together as far as the line goes.
Excellent center. He was the offensive MVP for the Broncos last season, was Billy Bryant. Now a 1st and 15 play. Winder puts his head down, but all he finds is a silver and black helmet to run into. As the Raiders continue to stop the Denver running game cold. And right now, Denver needs room to operate, because if they have to punt it away from their own end zone, the Raiders will be back knocking again.
Well, and you find it hard to criticize a man who's pressed into service with a dislocated thumb and doing his best out there, but Winder has not run aggressively today, has been tentative in the way he's come into the line, and that has been a real deficit. He's run the ball now 10 times and has gained only 6 yards for the Bronco offense.
And the carry previous to that, of course, was the fumble. And the Broncos took it right back from the Los Angeles Raiders. And now with Elway throwing a sharp ball into the middle, Upchurch makes a dive, but it's incomplete. And 3rd down, and 13 comes up for the Broncos inside their 6-yard line.
Well, you're not going to fool anybody with a play-action pass on that play. When your running game is not going, there's no sense in trying to fool people with play-action. Working one-on-one on Lester Hayes, and he does it as well as anyone around. Reads the play inside, and that ball is catchable, but it's thrown so hard. Elway has such a powerful arm, and he is really shooting that ball. I don't think he wants the interception here, but he's making it awful hard on his receivers to catch those footballs.
Now the new wide receiver in the game, a rookie from San Diego State, Clint Sampson, and
4 wide receivers
deployed.
Zach Thomas, little draw play.
Nothing. Broncos try to catch the Raiders in the full pass rush, but it doesn't work. Bill Pickell, a rookie from Rutgers.
Oh boy, Nathan Poole, who's the only virtually healthy back that the Broncos have, is still on the ground. Boy, they're going to have to hire an extra trainer. Poole has carried 5 times for 7 yards on the day, but let's give some credit to this Raider defense.
Tremendous.
They have made it very, very difficult for the Broncos to operate today. And mentioned earlier that statistically they rank very high, number 4 in the NFL total defense, 6th against the rush, 6th against the pass, and they've proved themselves very well today. On the whole afternoon, first half and second half, 13 yards rushing by the Denver offense, and woof. Boy, you got to do better than that.
Well, the Denver offense came in as the least productive in the league, as you know, Merlin, in total yards per game. They were right down near the bottom in virtually every offensive category, but with a right arm like John Elway, that can change quickly.
Well, it certainly can. And, you know, it's interesting. We can look at the negative side of that, but there's another side of it, too. When you look at a team that's had that much trouble offensively, the fact that they're still winning, the fact that they're still challenging, they're winning this game.
Right.
And they're challenging the Raiders. They're going to they'll step into a tie for first place if they finish this game ahead.
Seattle was upset today, losing at St. Louis, so if the Broncos win this, there'd be a 2-way tie for first. If the Raiders win, they'd have a 2-game lead over Denver with just 5 to play. Prestridge hits a punt downfield, and Pruitt's going to return it from the Denver side of the 50. He's to the 45, into the 40. Picket line is set. Look at this return by the Raiders, and Pruitt's all the way down to the 10-yard line. A tremendous special teams play by the Los Angeles Raiders. 38-yard punt, and Pruitt runs it back 35 yards.
Some very costly breakdowns on special teams last week against Seattle, and so far in this game, they didn't have the problem. Suddenly, Pruitt able to get some good blocks. Ted Watts out in front of him, Derek Nelson out in front of him. Luke Prestridge, the punter, finally makes the tackle.
Well, you were talking, Merlin, earlier about Luke Prestridge and all that size. He put it to good use there because Pruitt was heading for the end zone.
But you sure put your defense under the gun when you hand the ball away on the 12-yard line and give it to the Raider offense. Give them another chance to punch it in.
38-yard punt and a 35-yard return. Now it's the Raiders with the ball at the 12-yard line of Denver. Duncan looks, throws, and it's caught. Cliff Branch again. Down to the 7-yard line. Raiders can still get a first down.
Mickey Marvin came all the way down from his guard position and just dusted Mike Harden down there. Knocked him all the way almost into the end zone. Little play action fake using Branch's speed across. Dennis Smith, number 49, doing a good job one-on-one. You saw the feet flying by there. That was Mickey Marvin.
Not a memorable season for the Chargers, Merlin, but certainly a memorable day today as they're leading Dallas now 24-6 in the third quarter.
San Diego defense doing a great job.
Marcus Allen heads in and takes it in for the go-ahead touchdown. So the Raiders finally get in the end zone. Great offensive blocking by the Raider front, and Marcus Allen knows what to do with it as well as anybody in the league.
Well, you can't dodge that many bullets that they're well aimed, and certainly the Raiders aiming well in this ball game have been denied a number of times. Not so on this drive. Tremendous blocking by Marvin inside. Dalby. Good job by the Davis on the other side.
Another player is down.
Charlie Hanna. That whole offensive line.
Dennis Smith, the strong safety down, shaken up trying to make the play. He's coming off and all right. But with 5:52 left to play in the third quarter, the Raiders finally score their first touchdown of the game, and it gives them a 12-10 lead.
Good job inside by Henry Lawrence, too, on that right tackle position. In fact, it was Lawrence driving hard on Chavis, making room over there for that play. You see Mickey Marvin, 65, jumping in the air. These teams really don't like each other. There's some emotion pumping out there.
And has been for a long time. The Raiders have dominated the series. This is the 47th meeting over the years. The Raiders have won 33. The Broncos only 11. There have been 2 ties. Some of the Bronco wins have been very important games, though, like the AFC Championship game when the Broncos went to the Super Bowl in '77 when they beat the then Oakland Raiders 20-17. Right now, looking to extend the lead to 3 is Chris Barr, and he does. So a field goal separates the 2 teams with 5:52 to play in the third quarter. The Raiders scoring their first touchdown, and it's 13-10 Los Angeles. Marcus Allen on the payoff run, end of a touchdown run, the first of the day for the Los Angeles Raiders, and they now take the lead after the extra point by Barr, 13-10. You have to think, Merlin, that Elway's got to hit the big play because the Broncos aren't going to get in position to score running, at least the way this game has gone.
No, I'm sure the Raider defense thinking exactly with you, Don.
Barr kicks it off. Zach Thomas. There's a full gainer out to the 23-yard line. Broncos going offense there, 1st and 10. 21-yard return.
Otis McKinney, the man down to seal off that play. Zach Thomas trying to find a little room, would like to have brought that one out. I'd say they're in a tough position down there, though. Broncos have not been able to run the ball effectively, have not been able to get enough time for Elway to really be comfortable back there. The Raiders will continue to pressure him and harass him and hope he makes another mistake.
Elway takes a look, loops it out. Wilhite is in the game, and he catches the ball for a first down for the Broncos all the way out to the 44-yard line. A 20-yard game. Gerald Wilhite is finally heard from.
And Wilhite limping as he finished that run. As we mentioned, he had been held out of the lineup because of injuries. They put Egloff back in there in a kind of a shotgun, a wishbone position to do some blocking. Howie Long put the pressure on. This is a fine throw by Elway. Now watch Wilhite as he pulls up on that sore hamstring, pulling back on it. But you see why they're so sorry to have him out of the lineup. He is a real threat.
In for one play, resulting in a 20-yard gain. So the Broncos have it now 1st and 10. Pitch back to Poole, who's back in. And again, the silver and black stuffs the Denver run. Nothing at all with 5:25 to play in the third quarter, and the Raiders now in the lead 13-10 after trailing 10-0 in the first quarter and trailing the Broncos 10-6 at halftime.
The Denver defense had kept the pressure off the offense as long as they could, but now with the lead transferred into Raider hands, the pressure is squarely on the Denver offense. They've got to get more points. A matter of getting the ball down the field. 2nd and 10. Raiders looking pass all the way. They'll have the defensive linemen coming all out. Let's see if they can handle them on the line of scrimmage.
Single-digit numbers for the Broncos running the ball. Strike, but the man could not hold on. Ron Egloff coming across the middle is losing the ball at the 40-yard line. The throw was there, but a little bit low for Egloff.
So was Mike Davis there, right on top of Egloff, making it difficult for him to handle that football. And boy, those are hard passes to catch. Those are zippers, and in the late afternoon light, not easy.
Raiders, Merlin, probably play man-to-man defense more than any team in the league. Bud Grant, the coach of the Vikings, said he's not a proponent of that. Says one good thing about the man-to-man, if there's a mistake, you know who to blame.
Now, they're going to be even tougher here in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that after this play.
3rd and 10 from the shotgun. Elway sets. He's going to run. He's got to run now. He's over the line of scrimmage, and he bails out with the 12th man saving him. As all smart quarterbacks do. One that didn't was a guy you played against many times, Joe Kapp. Bud Grant asked him one day, he says, how come you never run out of bounds? You always want to take on a linebacker. He says, running out of bounds is for gringos.
Well, you mentioned one of the all-time crazy quarterbacks, but one of the toughest too, Kapp. I don't blame Elway for going out of bounds. He's not going to win the game with that run-one situation. He didn't have anyone open downfield anyway. But it has been a frustrating afternoon for that young man.
Everybody on both of these teams is well aware that 2 starting quarterbacks went out last week with injuries. Prestridge to punt the ball. He squib kicked it. The wrong part of that one. It's going to go out of bounds at about the 35-yard line.
One of the most dependable parts of this Bronco team has been their special teams. And in the last 2 weeks, special teams have let them down. Prestridge running in a crucial situation last week, did not get a punt off, put his team in bad position, score followed. And right here in a situation where he would dearly have loved to put them down deep, he squibs it off the side of his foot, 14 yards. Well, that's an ugly punt.
Ugly as an unplayable lie. Upset at Foxborough. Patriots beat the Dolphins 17-6. Miami 7-4. New England now 6-5. Upset at New York. Buffalo gains a share of the AFC Eastern lead, beating the Jets in a come-from-behind win. Green Bay upset the Vikings at Minneapolis today. Kansas City, and that was an upset. Cincinnati went in favored, beating the Cincinnati Bengals. KC over them. Bears haven't won many. They won one today at Soldier Field over the Philadelphia Eagles. The pitch back. Marcus Allen running, looking for room, and he finds number 66 there, Bryson Manor, to make the stop. Both these teams, the Broncos and the Raiders, were aided today by the development of St. Louis, where the Cardinals upset Seattle 33-28.
Tom Jackson certainly providing some inspiration early in the game. They'd like him to make another one of those inspirational plays here, coming all the way across on the backside, gets a handful of black jersey. They'd like to strip the football away. They're thinking turnover right now on the Denver Bronco defense.
They forced 2 big ones. One led to the first touchdown of the game. The other stopped a Raider drive not that long ago. Plunkett pump faking, home run ball. A man is out there, and Louis Wright, look at this play by Wright, who lost his man, recovered, and then very nearly intercepted. Malcolm Barnwell running the fly. Looked like he was going to catch the ball. Wright came back, tipped it up in the air, and very nearly intercepted.
Great concentration by both the receiver and the defender. Malcolm Barnwell sensing the underthrow of the ball. Louis Wright right on top of him. The ball batted high. You'll see it here. Wright getting a shot to bat it, and the ball hangs up there. Louis just fighting for a position, and you see the frustration. Had a feeling he might get a shot at it there, but it drops out of his hands. Plunkett's numbers not terribly impressive, but very solid. 18 for 30, 156 yards on the day.
Both Raider turnovers on fumbles. Plunkett's not been intercepted. Now he swings it out to Frank Hawkins, who heard Jackson coming. And that's worth hearing because Jackson is a sticker. 3 times in the Pro Bowl. Jackson made a play today that led to the first touchdown when he sacked Plunkett from the blind side, and the fumbled ball in the end zone was recovered by Chavis for a touchdown for Denver.
We've talked a lot about the linebackers for the Denver Broncos today. That Merle Moore, linebacker coach for these Broncos, put together a great linebacking unit up there in Denver, and then went out to coach for the Raiders. Now has gone back to Denver and has managed to put some youth into a linebacking core there that again is really taking charge on the field.
Zach Thomas, who ran back a punt for a touchdown in the first Raider Bronco game, coming up to fair catch this one, and he loses the ball. Raiders have it. 28-yard line. The Broncos still have it. 2 Raiders were on it.
Well, I'll be darned. It looked like that ball is controlled on the sideline, but the referees are indicating a Bronco football, and almost shades of last week on a short punt. Zach Thomas dropped one last week, took his eyes off of it. The ball was turned over and turned into a touchdown. 2 of the Raiders fighting for the ball, and look at that. He just slipped in and stole the football. Zach Thomas got over there and made amends for that mistake. Got over there and snipped that football out. Gives it back to the offense.
Merlin Zach better take a page from Greg Pruitt. Fumbled his in the pregame.
Well, I'll tell you, that is frightening. And
here's some more. There's the big final. It affects the AFC West. The Cardinals, who haven't won many, upset the Seattle Seahawks. Cleveland blanking Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 1-10, and so are the Houston Oilers. They won today. Beat the Lions. 1st and 10 to the run. Winder looks for room, and finally they break a play. The first successful run play for over 10 yards of the day for the Denver Broncos. A gain of 13 yards on the play, 16 yards all the way out to the 43-yard line.
Dan Reeves says it's about time we got to run. Here it is right here. Winder taking a little inside handoff. Raiders, I think, anticipating pass, have been able to shut off most of the running plays. Mike Davis, number 36, comes up and puts a stick on Winder, but Winder's finally got them a first down rushing the ball, and I believe that's a first for the day.
It's interesting to see him carry it in the left hand, too. The right hand is taped. We saw earlier when he ran that way, the ball was knocked free, and the Raiders recovered. Now on 1st and 10 from the 42-yard line, Elway takes a look and hands off again. There's a loss of 4 yards on the play. That time Sammy Winder never got started. Trying to turn upfield, he slipped and fell, and Long was right on him.
There are a couple of pockets of loose turf out there because of areas in which the water was on the field. He hit one.
Monty Clark and the Lion fans aren't very happy about that. The loss at Houston. The Steelers, with the best record in the American Conference, they're now 9-2.
Oh, look at that score. Wow.
Chargers continue to lead Dallas, and San Francisco dominating New Orleans at Candlestick Park up the coast. It's now 2nd down at 13 for Denver. Elway looks. Look at that throw. Too much on it, though. A little bit behind Rick Upchurch. Earl Campbell, who'd asked to be traded publicly twice during the past week, had 105 yards rushing today for the Oilers in their first win in the last 18 games as they beat the Lions at the Astrodome.
Well, we set the ball game. Talked first about the injuries to the 2 quarterbacks, the 2 replacements we'd see on the field today, and certainly passing out the report cards at this point in the game. Elway's not going to get much more than, well, he's hoping to get a passing grade, and if he doesn't do some better passing, he's not going to get one.
But the Broncos are down by just 3 points with 2 minutes and a second to play in the 3rd quarter. 3rd down and 13. Elway is sacked by Bill Pickell, the rookie from Rutgers, who's as fast as a linebacker. Big defensive end who knocked Elway out of the game in the first meeting at Denver.
Well, I got to believe a little deja vu there as Pickell sweeps in from the right-hand side. Elway nervous, actually backing up before the snap on that play. Number 71, Pickell, just blowing in from the outside. A little stunt over there. Greg Townsend holding people down, and Pickell firing Elway right into the turf on that play. Prestridge gets another chance to punt. Let's hope he's put that last punt out of his mind. Get this one off. Boy, that's nowhere near his average for the season. He's had a rather miserable day.
Like the receivers looking into their hands, the punter has to look it right into his foot. This time Prestridge unloads, drives Pruitt back to his 34-yard line. Pruitt's run out of bounds across the 40 at the 42 with 1:19 to go in the 3rd quarter, and the Raiders in the lead 13-10. Los Angeles goes back on offense, a 42-yard punt by Prestridge, an 8-yard return. Coming up next Saturday at 2:30 Eastern time, it's college basketball returning to NBC Sports with a Hall of Fame tip-off classic from Springfield, Massachusetts. The Houston Cougars will battle the defending national champions North Carolina State at a rematch of last season's NCAA championship game. Then NBC Sports World follows with a scheduled 10-round middleweight bout between 7th ranked James the Heat Kinchin and 9th ranked Murray Sutherland, live from St. Joseph, Missouri, plus the Mr. Olympia bodybuilder. This is Don Trick at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. 3rd quarter, late in the 3-point. Marcus Allen, who carried the only touchdown of the game for Los Angeles, runs the ball on 1st down across the 45 to the 46-yard line, where Rulon Jones knocks him down after a gain of 5.
Raiders offensive lineman one-on-one, just driving people off of the ball. Rulon Jones falling off the block, doing a good job of making the tackle on that play. But because the offense had pushed them off the ball, able to pick up 5 yards on the play.
2nd down and 5 coming up for Plunkett and the Raider offense. 46 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter, clock running. Bronco defensive line overshifts. Plunkett comes back the other way and hits Malcolm Barnwell for a 1st down. Plunkett's seen everything he can throw at him, every look there is. He went right back to the weak side.
They have not been able to hurt Mike Harden deep, but they have been able to hurt him short. He's been playing off the ball. They've hurt him with Branch, and now they come right back and hurt him with Barnwell. Make the move like they're going upfield and break it off short. Been very effective for the Raider offense today and costly for the Bronco defense.
Opposing quarterback today with the rare distinction of having been the #1 players picked the years that they came out of Stanford. Plunkett Hackett in 71 and John Elway in 83. The pitch back goes to Marcus Allen. Here's his 6th throw of the season. He's thrown 2 for touchdowns, and here's almost a third. Left branch was open, and the ball was right there. Marcus Allen, who was an all-Southern California quarterback, is a high school player in San Diego. Doesn't throw often. When he does, he's usually right there, and he was then.
He's making like a quarterback, and he's going to pay the price. Don Latimer, 72. Watch this. Whack! Oh, that hurts from up here. But a perfect strike. Marcus, a high school quarterback, had that one right in Branch's hands, and Steve Wilson had no chance if he can pull that one in. It's 6 points.
Well, and over the years, you had to especially admire the courage of certain quarterbacks that stand in like that, like Marcus just did, throwing it. Right now, Frank Hawkins runs the ball on 2nd down and 10, gets it inside the 40 to the 38-yard line. It's amazing how someone, every nerve in their body is screaming, get rid of it, will stand there and take the hit.
Well, that's the way you test the quarterbacks. You test their courage, Don, and you come to respect those that just simply don't care. They'll stand in there, wait till the last second, and they'll throw the ball knowing that they're going to get smashed.
Who are some of the most courageous?
Unitas among them, Bart Starr, Namath. You know, you go down quite a list of people that, and some who would duck away.
Like me, if I was in there. We'll be back to the Los Angeles Coliseum right after these messages from your local station. To start the 4th quarter, it looks, Merlin, like Dennis Smith, one of the best players in the Bronco defense, won't be back today. His right knee iced down. We're told it's a strained knee.
Roger Jackson is in his place, and certainly losing one of your best players has got to hurt even further. Good play.
Raiders go to the run. Marcus Allen carries the ball on 3rd down and 3, and looks like he's short. He is of the 1st down.
You see the shadows lengthening across the field, the sun dropping low. It's going to be a factor here, especially as you go from right to left across the field. They're saying go for it. Bryson Manor made a great play on that last one. Dove in and got a piece of the ball carrier. And there goes the short yardage defense, or short yardage offense for Tom Flores' Los Angeles Raiders. He's responding to the crowd, and you can't blame him. When you've gone 5 for 5 in 4th down attempts, they've been pretty successful.
Big play now as we open the 4th quarter. Second play of this final quarter, the Raiders leading 13 to 10 and 4th and a yard. Second back through is Marcus Allen. He is through for 20. Down inside the 30 to the 28-yard line. Needed a yard, he got 7. Roger Jackson knocked him down.
Physical fatigue beginning to take a factor. The size of the Oakland offensive line, straight ahead blocking. You saw what they were doing to the defense there. That advantage begins to show even further. Allen accelerating well. It's the linebackers in the secondary who are having to make the bulk of the tackles now, and that's not good news for the Denver defense.
Oakland's powerful offensive front pushing back the Broncos now again to the run. This time carrying the ball is Frank Hawkins, who threw a key block on that 1st down run the play before for Marcus Allen. Hawkins emerging as one of the conference's better blockers. He said to block, it's 20% technique and 80% heart.
Look at these numbers. Rushing yardage for the Broncos, 26 on the day. The Raiders have not rung up impressive stats, but certainly have been able to control the football and have been able to have attempts to score anyway. They're getting that many shots on your goal. Eventually, they're going to get some in there.
This is the area of the field, though, where the Denver Broncos have stood tall so many times previously in this game. The Raiders challenge. They stopped, and we'll see if they can now on 2nd and 4 from the 23. Plunkett has a problem, gets it away, and overthrows his man, Malcolm Barnwell. Very nearly a sack. They got to Plunkett for 4 sacks in the 1st half. He's been releasing it quicker here in the 2nd half.
Jackson coming again on the blitz from the outside. He's in very quickly. Gets a blocker this time, but actually ducks inside the blocker. And even though he doesn't get Plunkett, Randy Gradishar able to get out. Tell Plunkett, you better hurry, get that one off, my friend. Malcolm Barnwell saying, hey, Jim, I'm a little tall, but I'm not tall enough to go up there and get that one.
So it goes as an incomplete pass and brings up 3rd down and 5. Branch and Barnwell wide either side. The run. Ooh, good one. Pruitt carries the ball from scrimmage and gets it ahead for a Raider 1st down. He's to the 12-yard line.
It takes a special kind of back to run that draw play, and there are some backs who are very effective. Greg Pruitt is one of those backs. Kind of hides back there and waits. and doesn't try to hurry the play. Lets him come back and hand him the football, then picks the spot, accelerates. And when you're rushing the passer as a defensive lineman, very difficult to make a stop on a play like that. First down for the Raiders.
It won't be 70 degrees and sunny next Sunday when the Raiders go to Buffalo to play the Bills, who are now tied for the AFC Eastern lead. First game of the NBC doubleheader in many parts of the country. Right now the Raiders looking to lock this one if they can. A throw to the end zone, incomplete to Todd Christensen. Very nearly 6.
You think you draw a crowd down there when you waltz into the end zone? Let's watch Todd Christensen, number 46. Starts at about the 19-yard line, breaks it outside, and wants to find an opening down the middle. Mike Harden, 31, immediately on top of him. Roger Jackson, 28. Gradishar coming over. Good coverage by the Bronco defense.
So now second down and 10 comes up for Plunkett and the Raiders. 18-yard line of the Denver Broncos. Raiders leading by 3 in the fourth quarter. Hawkins runs. He has plenty. He might take it the distance. He does. Touchdown, Los Angeles. Now, Merlin, we know it's going to be bombs away when Elway and the Broncos get the ball back.
They really don't have any choice now. They didn't anyway. They weren't able to run the football. But when you keep hammering long enough and hard enough, and you have the speed to get outside, Hawkins following a fine block out there by Marcus Allen, and it was a missed tackle by Steve Wilson, number 45, that allowed Hawkins to make that move, get away, and plant himself firmly in the end zone.
Excellent block also by number 73, the left guard, Charlie Hanna.
Oh!
And snap.
David Hum, number 11, who just recently picked up, taken out of retirement, allowed to come in and start relearning the Raiders offensive system and installed as a holder. He's one of the best over the years. Good hands on that one.
It's a 19-10 lead for the LA Raiders, and we'll be back with their kickoff in a moment.
Runner, and he runs right out of the grasp of number 45, Steve Wilson there, finds his way into the end zone in spite of a last-ditch effort by Tom Jackson.
Today's game is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Ram Tough Dodge Trucks. Dodge, an American revolution. By Alcoa Aluminum Company of America, world leader in aluminum technology. And by Anheuser-Busch St. Louis, brewers of Michelob. Some things speak for themselves. With Merlin Olsen, this is Don Criqui at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Clear and sunny, a 2-game swing in the AFC West on the line with the outcome of this game. If the Raiders hold on and win it, they'll have command of the division by 2 games over Denver and Seattle with just 5 to play. The Broncos can gain a share of first place, though. If they can come back and win this, they need a touchdown, extra point, and a field goal to do that. They trail 19-10, but there's a lot of time remaining. 11:35 to play in the fourth quarter. Zach Thomas returned the kick, and Elway and the Bronco offense comes out to go throw it.
There are really 3 battles taking place on the field in any game. The battle between the offenses and defenses of both teams and the special teams of both teams. And the Raiders special teams have taken a definite advantage in this ballgame, especially in the second half.
They really come alive in the second half. Denver's pinned in their own end. First and 10 for Elway. Ron Egloff goes in motion. Screen, and well done. There's going to be room here to run. Straight ahead is Winder, and he's across the 25-yard line. For a gain of about 8 or 9 yards on the play, Rod Martin made the knockdown for Los Angeles.
When you're pinned down and you're hurt, you've got to make things work. You go to the grab bag, you come up with some tricks, and sometimes they work. That one did. Very effective middle screen.
A real run for it in the AFC East. Miami and Buffalo share the lead after the Dolphins were beaten today. The Bills won, and New England a victor and Baltimore a loser. So the Colts and New England 6-5, just a game behind. Favorite Jets are nowhere. They were favored at the outset of the season. Second down and a yard. It didn't look like the Broncos even got to the line of scrimmage. Howie Long came up to make the hit on Sammy Winder.
The trainers come out on the field as apparently one of the Broncos is down and hurt. Nathan Poole limping back to the huddle. He's not the man that was injured. 64, Billy Bryant, the center. could see Mark Cooper maybe in at that center spot.
Bill Bryan, the best offensive lineman on the Denver team.
Keith Bishop, number 54, going to go to center.
Keith Bishop goes in. There's the Central Division. The Steelers with a lot of defense, so rolling in the AFC Central. Cleveland, a winner today, is second. Here's, we talked about the 2-game swing on the outcome of this game. The Raiders will have a command by 2 games in their division with 5 to play if they win, and they're leading now 19-10. Tom Flores has been part of the Raider operation for a long time. Has been head coach for 5 years, but has been an assistant since '72 and played with the team prior to that. 3rd and 2.
First down.
Looks like he got it. Winder on the 3rd and 2 carry, slanting to the right. Nelson knocked him down, but the Broncos get a very important first down.
Running in behind the middle of that line with the injury to Bryant. They've now got Keith Bishop in at the center, Tom Glassick in at one guard, Paul Howard at the other, and it's Glassick pulling over on the short trap, making room for that play up to the inside. Big first down. This is Glassick's last season, too. He's announced his retirement, that he's not going to play again next year. I think he's one of the most colorful players in the NFL, certainly one of the most interesting.
Turn to his toy soldier collection. He's got a Hall of Fame collection. An expert in that, but right now it's Elway gunning the ball for a strike and a first down to the 40. John Elway again pumps and delivers the fastball right down the pipe. Matt Millen and Bob Nelson converge on Ron Egloff, but it's a Raider first down. Bronco first down.
Staring right down the pipe. Elway back again, locked in on a single receiver, something he's going to have to learn not to do. In this particular case, able to throw between the 2 linebackers and able to make the connection, but that's costly. Linebackers, defensive backs, watch a quarterback's eyes. He's got to be moving around, looking at other receivers. Can't just watch one all the way.
That time it worked. 10-yard gain. 9:05 to play in the game. Elway with a problem, gets it away, and it's incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10. This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Los Angeles Raiders and the National Football League is prohibited. Best assessment, I think, Merlin, of how good Elway is projected to be was by Gil Brandt, head of scouting for the Cowboys, who said, we had Danny White, Joe Montana, and Dan Fouts, and had the #1 pick, we'd still take him. Dan Reeves got him.
Reeves has got him, but Reeves would like to have Elway producing like Dan Marino is down in Miami. The young man has not been able to do that yet.
Not yet. There's a throw, a strike in an open field for Ron Egloff. He's inside the 40, inside the 30, and down to the 28-yard line.
You think he was listening to us?
I tell you, Marino is certainly self-assured. Somebody said to him during the week that he's a lot like Joe Namath. He said, the one big difference, I'm better looking than Namath.
Well, this pass is better looking than just about any that young John Elway has thrown today. Good strike. Good job of getting open by Egloff on that particular play. Beats Mike Davis one-on-one. Ted Watts over to get a piece of him. McElroy over there to finally dump him on the ground. But that's a big first down. Let's see if they can take advantage of it.
Egloff's second reception coming in this drive. Good for a total of 43 yards and first downs. From the 28, Elway takes a look. Timing pattern, another fastball. Right over the middle, and a slant pattern. Upchurch can't hold on, and the Raider coverage was excellent, led by 37 Lester Hayes.
Raiders style of defense, intimidation. They hammer on you out there. And they made an acquisition this week that's going to make this defense even tougher. Mike Haynes traded from the New England Patriots. Look at the fire on this ball.
Even in slow motion.
That is slow motion. Lester Hayes right there doing a good job of reacting. Talked to Mike Haynes yesterday. He is just thrilled to be coming into play for this Raider team, and boy will he fit in. That's a normal speed on that pass. Hey, that's 95-mile-an-hour fastball there. Put a hole outside.
2nd and 10. The play is whistled dead as penalty markers go down at the line of scrimmage with 8 minutes and 4 seconds left to play. Raiders trailed in the first quarter 10-0. They now lead 19-10.
When things go sour.
Illegal snap on the center.
When things go sour down there, it just doesn't work, and just disorganized on that last play as the ball was snapped to the wrong time. Several of the players already up, and looked like it was a first sound snap. Center was not up with it on time, and the ball will be marked off 5 yards. Second.
Third start, number 54 of the offense, still second down.
Keith Bishop, who's come in to play for Bill Bryan at center, he was shaken up. Called for the false start.
Well, you don't need that. Certainly the man who must start everything, must call those blocking combinations, is the offensive center. And the one man that you don't like to see disappear on that offensive line is your center. Now you've got a new quarterback and a new center in there.
We see a lot of defensive linemen shift just before the snap. The Raiders seem to do it less than most teams. They're pretty much come right at you a certain way.
They line up and say, come and get us.
Right now on 2nd and 15, Elway takes the deep drop. He looks, he throws, he has a man, Watson, open for a moment, and a penalty marker down.
Penalty on the far side of the field. Elway now 9 for 25, 149 yards, 1 interception on the day. This Raider defense, an intimidating kind of defense. They just come after you, come after you, come after you. They hammer on you physically. And they make it difficult out there, especially if they can get up on you. If they know that they've got the edge. They bring a lot of people. They're rotating a lot of people into that line. I talked to Earl Leggett, their defensive line coach.
Number 76 of the offense was holding. It's still second down.
Ed Moransky. No, not Ed Moransky. That's the other side. Ken Lanier. You're looking at one of the real wild men. People up in Denver remember that man. Played a lot of football for the Broncos. Went on to the Browns. And he's come back here and done an exciting job for these Los Angeles Raiders.
Tough-looking man. He could stare a dog down off a meat wagon, somebody said, of Lyle Alzado.
He scared me.
Elway with the problem, gets away from it. He looks. Some of his players quit on the play. It's a first down throw. One of his players was open in the end zone up church and thought he was sacked. Stopped running. But Elway finds a way, and so on 2nd down and about 25 yards, he throws for 32 and a first down.
I believe that's Steve Watson's first reception on the day, but what a big time. Now is that Sampson catching that football down there? That's Sampson catching the football down there, but Elway doing a magnificent job of escaping this pressure. That's Townsend, 93, Alzado, 77, a body lock there. Gets to the outside and gets that ball off. Watch the catch down deep here. 84, Sampson, Clint Sampson, and that's Watson right there with him. But it's Sampson pulling that ball down, 1st and 10.
So the Broncos down close for the first time in a long, long time. Here is a throw. It's incomplete, but there's a penalty marker. Watson was interfered with. It'll be 1st and goal for the Broncos inside the 5-yard line. Ed Watts called for the foul, and John Elway looking at the end zone from pretty close to point-blank range.
And we got another flag down. I believe Watts may have said something to the officials that drew an additional penalty.
20 on the defense. First down.
Maybe not. Chance there, though. You get the feeling. Steve Watson, well, you notice how upset Watts was. Steve Watson using his body to shield himself from that defender so effectively, and that really caused a problem. Watts had nowhere to go. Came in over the top, caused himself the penalty.
And in the 4th quarter, when the Broncos needed it most, Elway has started to throw strikes. Now it's 1st and goal from the 4-yard line. Raiders lead 19-10. Elway throws. Watson loses, had the ball and lost it. Very close to a reception. Lester Hayes split it up, though. A big play by the All-Pro corner. He had it just long enough to have possession. Even if he knocked it away, it would have been a touchdown. But the official right there ruled he did not have it long enough.
3 people doing a spectacular job. It was a great throw by Elway, who's under pressure here. Has to bring it down and throw it the second time. Gets the ball up. Watson had to go high in the air to get the football. Now watch him as he's coming down. Hayes is coming up and knocks the football away. If his feet touch the ground, that's a touchdown. But just as his feet are coming down, he's got to get both feet on the ground. Hayes knocked that football away. Brilliant play.
Really was, as you said, Merlin, an excellent play by 3 players. Now the Broncos will try again. 2nd and goal from the 4. Timing pattern. Well, man was open, but Elway was short, and he knows it as he pounds a fist into the turf. Upchurch turning out.
Upchurch is angry. I don't blame him. He got himself open. He said, hey, it's tough enough to shake these black jerseys. Get me the football when I get open like that. Hell, and no one will be harder on himself than young John Elway. Elway will be angry that he did not get that football to the open receiver, and a lot of pressure right now on the offense. Here it is. Elway throwing, and he's under pressure again. But that ball to a wide open receiver has got to be out there so he can catch it. Upchurch says, hey, come on, get it out here to me.
And Upchurch also, I think, lost some footing cutting back the field wet, particularly in the perimeter area after 2 days of rain.
I think cutting hard to try and get back to that football, though.
Now it's 3rd and goal. Elway swings it out. Wilhite loses the ball. Wilhite does well to come up with it. If it was ruled a lateral, it was a free football. And
I believe they're going to call it I believe that they are going to call that an incomplete pass and not a lateral as they mark it back to the line of scrimmage. But it doesn't do any good. It's still going to be 4th down. Reeves can't believe it.
I think he's a little upset with Wilhite.
Elway looking across, waiting for Wilhite, threw it behind him. Wilhite had to turn completely around to try and catch that ball, and that's the one thing you can't afford to do when you got that back going out to the outside. The ball's got to be in front of it. Elway now 6 for 15, 117 yards in the second half. Of course, that interception also coming in the second half. First half, he was only 4 for 12.
Carlos can bring the Broncos to within 6. High snap, but the set down and hold are very good. Luke Prestridge doing his job well, and Carlos responding with the field goal. And now it is a 19-13 game, and we still have 6:35 left to play, so looks like we're going down to the wire.
Target more effectively, but they've still got to get back and do it. Reeves talking to Elway on the sideline, I'm sure asking him what happened on that pass that went behind Wilhite, and certainly concerned about not getting the 7. Of course, you've got to have the 3-2 to get you back in the ball game, but they would love to have had the 7 points there and had the option of going for the field goal on the next time down.
But Elway has demonstrated he can open up the Raider defense. At least he has done so here in the 4th quarter. A good kickoff by Carlos. Doki Williams, 5 yards deep in the end zone, will not bring it out. So the Raiders will go on offense, holding to a 6-point lead with 6:30 to play. 1st and 10 for Jim Plunkett and the Raiders at the Los Angeles 20.
And again, Plunkett's numbers certainly not overwhelming in this day of passing football, but more than adequate to get his team on top today. And of course, the one costly mistake he made was the fumble early in the ball game. The ball knocked loose for a touchdown, but he has come back to play very sound football. Now the thing you've got to do defensively, the Broncos thinking to themselves, don't give anything big, but let's take that football away. 6:30, plenty of time.
Jim Plunkett wants to move downfield in a hurry. He throws and hits his tight end for a 1st down. Todd Christensen over the middle, and Plunkett with a perfect throw to him, and the ball is out to the 33-yard line.
Confidence is such an asset. The Raiders have that kind of confidence in Todd Christensen and their short passing game. They're not afraid to throw the ball under a critical situation like that. And Christensen, after being shut out early, has come back for 4 catches and big yardage, and certainly some of them very key to Raider success.
They have been, and he's just worked harder to get free. He's got to fight off. For a long time, he had to fight off Louis Wright, then a linebacker. And he's been open for a moment, and Plunkett's delivered there, and now he does again. Another 1st down, a quick out going over to Cliff Branch.
These are high percentage passes, the kind of passes that are not going to be intercepted. I mean, if your man doesn't get that one, if Branch doesn't get that pass, that ball's out of bounds. So they're playing smart football here. They want to eat the clock, drive down the field, love to get some more points on the board, and force the Broncos to go for even bigger points on their side of it.
The precision of a veteran quarterback and offensive team. 2 quick throws, 2 quick 1st downs, and both times they keep it inbounds and keep the all-important clock running. 5:15 to play in the game. Raiders 19, Broncos 13. Marcus Allen, nothing in the middle, so he takes it to the outside, and he is ahead for very close to 1st down yardage. So the Raiders, when they need it badly to keep their lead protected, respond with 3 consecutive 1st down plays. If this one is good for 10, if it's not, it'll be short by inches.
There's a fine line aggressively on the defensive side between going after the football and putting yourself at risk. And when you start trying to tackle a football, when you start trying to make the big play, there's always the danger that the offense will break the big one on you and get away. Right now, it's important that the Broncos play steady defense, that they take the football back, but there's still a lot of time left in this game. That's going to be a first down, as Allen was able to get enough on that particular run. Good job by Marcus Allen.
Has over 130 yards for the day as Elway waits to get back in and get another chance. Marcus Allen with 83 yards rushing and 49 more on 6 receptions.
Broncos have played a 4-man defensive line virtually throughout this game, and I believe the reason more than anything is because of injuries to their linebackers. They've done a fairly good job, but again, they're just being pounded and pounded and pounded, gradually wearing down under that big offensive line of the Raiders.
Raiders closed with a big win in the final minutes at Kansas City last week. Now they look to protect this 6-point lead. Hawkins runs the ball, not very far, to first down carry, got to the 43. Jim Ryan, one of the linebackers, knocked him down. And the clock continues to wind down, 4:15 to play.
Ryan's done a good job of staying in that lineup. An injured ankle kept him out of last week's ball game. He's come back well. Sam Bogosian, their offensive line coach, talking to Tom Flores. What a fine job Flores has done. I don't think he ever gets enough credit. Certainly deserves a great deal of credit for the way he handles the Los Angeles Raider organization.
Dan Reeves, you can see the tension in his face as he looks for his defense to get the ball back. Here comes Jackson. He strips the ball. It looks like the Denver Broncos have it. They do. Jackson again. They had to give this guy a game ball. It's gold-plated.
The 5th sack of the day by the Denver defense. And, of course, at the crucial time, you've got big play people that got to perform for you. Jackson coming from the left side. That's Hawkins. He gets by here. But it's just reaching out with that left hand. And Plunkett, who does not grip that ball tightly, has it swept out of his hand. Right here, the Broncos recover. They now can put Elway back in the game and set their sights on the goal line. I'd just like to caddy for that group. Get out and watch Nick Laws. I'd even be willing to carry 4 bags to be there for that Skids game.
You could carry him.
Well, that's going to be a great match.
We get a few more good football players, now we can get our own team. We've got Merlin Olsen, his brother Phil Olsen, and Bobby Chandler, a longtime Buffalo Bill and L.A. Raider in their championship year, the last one. Looking out as Elway throws and hits his man Nathan Poole. He's ahead for about 10 yards. He's down to the 32-yard line and gets out of bounds with 3:34 left to play.
Elway doing a good job on that play.
He is.
He looked deep, watched the receivers, did not have the kind of opening he wanted. Flashed left, picked up Nathan Poole in the side and hammered the ball to him. Poole getting down very close to a first down. And the thing you don't want to do here is get greedy. You don't want to get greedy. 2 reasons for it. First, your percentage passes are all lower passes. And second, an awful lot of time on that clock. You'd like to use some of it in that drive.
3:34 left to go. The Broncos trail 19-13. Nathan Poole runs hard and he works hard and gets a first down. Nathan Poole is down close to the 30-yard line, so it's going to be a first down for Denver. He stayed in bounds, and with 3:19 in the clock running, the Broncos huddle somewhat at their leisure. I think they're of your thinking, Merlin. They don't want to try to get it all at once and give the Raiders time to get back. First, they've got to get some.
Well, Nathan Poole only 9 yards on the day, but those were 2 of the most important that he'll get during this entire day. And now the Raider defense, their thought down there very simple. They've got to play conservative enough not to allow the deep shot, but they've got to push hard enough not to allow the drive to continue. 1st and 10 for Elway and the Bronco offense.
Just outside the Raider 30. And a throw, here comes the rush. He eludes it for the moment. Now he has a problem. He can go, though. You talked about his 4.7 speed, and John Elway might take it in. He's down to the 6-yard line. Ted Watt got him, but now the Broncos have the ball. 1st and goal at the 6-yard line with 2:28 to play. A 24-yard run by John Elway.
Elway standing in tough, will feel the pressure from the outside. Howie Long ducks under Howie Long. Now look at how many Raiders he has in pursuit. Just a matter of speed. Outruns Millen right there. Breaks into the open. He's pointing out his blocks. I believe that's Upchurch down there. And it's Ted Watts who slips off Upchurch's block and makes the stop. But great position here We got a timeout called, I believe. I don't know who they called it for, but
2-minute
warning. Okay.
And now, here comes another one of those fantastic finishes with the Broncos challenging to go ahead. The Raiders had the ball. Now, after the 24-yard run by Elway, the Broncos challenging first and goal. Elway again outruns the pursuit. Throws, it's incomplete. Watson was close. It came in a little low. That's not a bad idea to throw it low, Merlin, because these guys can intercept anything up.
You got to put it away. You can't give the ball away down there. This is probably your last shot at it. Dan Reeves talking to Wilhite on the sideline. Will send in the play with his offensive back. New play coming in. Jack Squirek coming in. Ted Hendricks off the field. Hendricks was the man who was responsible for containment on that last play and just did not have enough speed, as we said, playing with some injuries, not able to control Elway to the outside. But Elway's pass just slightly low. Watson went down to try and dig it out. Couldn't get it. Second about 7 yards to go. Let's see what they got in mind.
Tension really mounting now. The game clock down to 1:53 to play. Second and goal for the Broncos from the 6. They go to the run. Wilhite turns the corner. He's inside the 5, but he's not there, and the clock runs down to 1:45 and ticking.
Gerald Wilhite, you see him limping as he comes back in there, operating on a bad wheel. Here comes another injured player onto the field. Sammy Winder.
At this point, you send out what you got.
Yeah, you got to put him on the field. Both teams have all their timeouts at this point. That was Wilhite's first carry of the day. Ran pretty well considering the problems he's had with his legs. Third down, 4 yards to go. I think you got to put this ball in the air.
That adrenaline will ease some pain, and it's pumping now. Third down and goal. Broncos. Nobody set in the backfield, and Elway gets set. Takes a look. Takes it up the middle. He's in. Touchdown, Denver. Strikes the ball. What a football game. You look at back. Broncos ever hold on to win this. Number 57, Tom Jackson, stands taller than all the Broncos who played so well today.
Well, and no matter what the numbers are, the basic rule in football is win the game. And if they can hang on now, John Elway, quarterback a record, and you saw that hug from Reeves. Not a design play, not a design run, but a perfect quarterback draw. Everyone rushing to the outside. Elway saw the opening and zip, put himself in the end zone.
Tremendous comeback, and now that missed extra point by the Raiders after their last score looming so large. Carlos can put the Broncos in the lead, and it's up. And it's good. And Denver, with 58 seconds to play, has a 20-19 lead.
Let's go back and take another quick look at that play. Again, Elway looking for the pass here. But notice how all of the defenders end up being pushed outside. Elway sees the room inside. Jack Squirek, 58, the man who's diving for him. Elway diving for the end zone, and he makes it.
But over the years, nobody's come back like the Raiders have, and they have 58 seconds to get in field goal range. John Elway, exuberant, well, he should be, after he ran up the middle for the touchdown that tied the game, and then the extra point by Carlos. And Denver has rallied from 9 points down late in the game to lead 20-19. The kickoff. The Doki Williams. He's a flyer. They hem him in and down him at the 30. 17-yard return, and now, with 51 seconds left to go, Plunkett and the Raider offense comes out.
And in any ball game, it comes down to the final seconds, comes down to maybe 1 or 2 plays. This will go down as the most important offensive play of the day, a scramble. No one open. John Elway making the most of that opportunity, and is that young man happy? I think this ball may bounce 50 yards in the air. Wow!
Great second look from the ground level. Our producer today for NBC Sports, Kenneth Edmondson, our director, John Gonzalez, as the Raiders now with 1st and 10 at their 30, trailing by 1. Plunkett has time. He has a man. It's Christensen. He is across the 45 to the 47. And the clock runs down to 40 seconds and running.
Raiders have all 3 of their timeouts. They take one here, 40 seconds. Chris Barr on the sideline. It may come down to an opportunity for that young man to drop it over the goalpost, and of course with a 1-point lead, that's all they need.
The Raiders, though, they don't really like it till they're behind late in the game. They know all about coming back to win, and they could have a chance and very soon, and nobody knows that better than Dan Reeves.
He certainly does. Reeves, of course, Joe Collier, you see him there. He's the man who will call the defensive signals. And without that man right there, Roger Jackson, under a lot of pressure. I showed you earlier, Dennis Smith, starting safety, is out of the ball game. You're going with a young man in there who doesn't have that much experience. Your defense is tired. They've been on the field a good part of the day. But right now, it's down to this. You've got to shut down the Los Angeles Raiders. You've got to keep them from getting in field goal range. You've got to protect that 1-point lead for John Elway.
John Elway came into this game after being relegated to the bench, said, "I'm ready now," and he was. The first half wasn't too productive, but the second half was.
Look at that, rushing. Elway has run 4 times for 32 yards. The entire Bronco backfield has only run 29 yards in 22 attempts.
Plunkett against a big rush, gets it away. Christensen has the ball and gets away. It's a race to the end zone. Christensen inside the 30. It's going to come back on a clip. They would be in field goal range with 30 seconds left, but there is a call going to be called against the LA Raiders.
You talk about a flip of emotion. Christensen breaking away, and it appeared that he had an open field, at least for a good gain. Dokie Williams coming in, trying to do a little bit extra, clipped on the backside. They're going to mark 15 yards back. They're going to end up virtually in the same place that they started to play.
The game clock showing 30 seconds to play. Red Cashin, the referee, steps off the yardage to the 49-yard line of Denver.
Very good use of the hands during the run. Number 85 of the offense. It's still first down.
Well, it's a 10-yard penalty instead of a 15-yard penalty, so they go back to where they actually make 3 yards on the play. But there's the push right there. Number 85, Williams, getting the shove in the middle of the back. And, of course, they mark it back.
One thing we're sure of, Merlin, there won't be any overtime. 20-19 the score, 30 seconds to play. Denver on defense has the lead. The Raiders. Jim Plunkett throwing. Again, he goes to Christensen, and again he comes up and comes down with the ball. Down to the 36-yard line. It's still long field goal range for Chris Barr with 23 seconds to play.
Wilbur Myers, number 29, all over the intended receiver. They're still able to go up and bring that football down. You see Todd Christensen applauding out there saying, "Hey, we're still in this thing." And of course, that's what's on the line. The lead in the AFC West, owned now by the Raiders. These Denver Broncos would love to pull them back into a tie. Little clamp right there. They're trying to get in on Plunkett. What a great catch. Up and over the top.
Ross Schneiderman, our NBC statistician, with the numbers on Plunkett. 24 of 39 for 225 yards. Now they really come alive at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Christensen shut down early in the game. Merlin has really got some numbers now.
He certainly does. 6 for 86 yards in the ball game. And the pressure again squarely on the shoulders of the Bronco defense, and they have responded with big plays all day long. Merle Moore there on the left, the linebacker coach. It's his linebackers that have made some of the biggest. They'd like to make another one here.
13 years in the NFL. Jim Plunkett has been here 100 times before. So is Jackson, who's after him again. Here's a throw, a timing pattern, and it is caught out of bounds. Not completion. Dokie Williams had it, but both feet came down on the white chalk.
A great adjustment to the football. Dokie Williams covered down the sideline, one-on-one. The ball thrown short. He jumps back. That's Roger Jackson. Oh, excuse me, Steve Wilson, 45, covering him. But you look at Dokie. He looks down, and he can see those 2 feet in the white stripe. No reception. 2nd and 10 from the 36-yard line.
Big down. They're all big at this point. 17 seconds left to play in the game. Denver 20. The Raiders Raiders 19. Plunkett dropping for Los Angeles. He has Christensen. He's in field goal range now as Christensen is down to the 23-yard line.
They stop him in bounds. They're going to have to call a timeout. It's going to come down to a final play, and it looks like it's going to be Chris Barr with everything hanging in the balance. Barr 2 for 3 on the day, has been good from 28 and 42 yards. Missed from 28 yards.
Wow. It's really been something. The Denver Broncos came in here shaken up, ready to play, and they played hard all day. Their defense kept them in it early, and then the Raiders, with that great power in the offensive line, mixed the run and the passing. Came from a 10-0 deficit, did the Raiders, to a 19-10 lead in the fourth quarter. But the Denver Broncos responding with 10 fourth-quarter points. The last 10 points scored in this game have taken a 1-point lead, 20-19. And now Chris Barr's on the field. It'll be a 40-yard attempt from virtually straight away. Upright, so Merlin get an awful lot narrow when the whole thing's on the line.
4 completed passes in that drive to Todd Christensen, and he set it up. He's allowed a missed chance. Let's see if they can capitalize.
David Hums had a problem holding. This time he doesn't. The ball's on the way. He spins it up and throw, and the Raiders are going to win the game. 4 seconds left. Chris Barr, when he had to deliver, did, and the Raiders down with 58 seconds to play, take a kickoff, drive down the field, despite a penalty, get in position, and then hit it when they had to, and take a lead with just 4 seconds to play. It's not over, but really it is.
We talk about the emotional highs and lows of professional football, and here within seconds, you've seen both. On this last play, the ball in the air. We'll let the coaches tell you whether it's good or not.
Great shot.
What a tremendous game. And even though Dan Reeves is hanging his head over there, got to be terribly proud of the way his team played today. So many injuries, so many problems. They were able to overcome them. They played some great defense. They did make some costly mistakes during the day, but I got to believe Elway found a little maturity out there today.
A lot of maturity. Well, we have a moment. Our thanks for the help in the booth to NBC statistician Ross Schneiderman, to Dennis Mnuchin, Tim Tallman, and Shep Goldberg. As now, with 4 seconds left to play, the LA Raiders find a way once again, as they've done over the years.
I've got to believe that David Hum, with his first action in a ball game, just coming back to the roster, had to be a little shaky out there holding that ball for Chris Barr.
But when he had it, he did it. Remember, the last extra point was missed. Now they don't want him a chance to run it back, so they scrib it downfield unless the Broncos can bring it down. Get it 2 seconds left. 2 seconds to run on the clock, and now it's gone. Time is out. The Broncos leave in defeat, but it was a tremendous effort by the Denver team.
I believe they're going to wind some time back onto the clock. Anyone could call timeout. Receiver immediately after touching the football indicated timeout. I don't think this ball game is over yet.
1 second on the clock. Put 1 second on the clock.
Enough for one play.
Now, what kind of play do you have in your arsenal that will allow you to go from your own 14-yard line all the way to the end? Let's look at the play. A smart play. Steve Wilson, 45, coming up. He's not the man that gets it, though. Zach Thomas, and instantly called a timeout. Enough to stop the clock, but virtually an impossible situation for the Broncos.
I think what they have to run here, Merlin, is that play that Cal beat Stanford on last year.
Well, where's the band? Can we get them to come onto the field?
Their 8 guys handled it. Elway, 11 for 30 in the game, or 190 yards. Was intercepted once, as you see. Now, one last throw for John Elway. The Raiders got guys playing 70
Lester
yards.
Hayes is about 50 yards back.
Man, that is a long ball downfield. It's tipped in the air, and the game ends. A great effort by the Broncos, a fabulous comeback by the Raiders, and the Los Angeles Raiders take a 2-game lead in the AFC West. With seconds to play, they go in front 22-20, and that's how it will end.
And the black and silver again showing their character, showing the kind of confidence they have. Elway met them, but he had his troubles, and it's a Raider game when we finish.
Another day at the office for Tom Flores. We'll be back following these messages. We had the game locked up, had a rally in the final minute, driving down the field, and finally a field goal wins it. Now for Merlin Olsen, this is Don Cricky. Stay tuned for NFL 83 following these messages from your local station.